Chapter 375. Once Xiao Chen left, the others naturally didn't stay any longer and dispersed one after another. Jing Yu got into the carriage and lay down comfortably on the soft couch. Xiao Chen leaned against the wall of the carriage and narrowed his eyes at Jing Yu's unsightly lying posture. A faint smile appeared in his eyes. "It's over. I ate too much." Jing Yu crawled toward Xiao Chen in discomfort. She lifted Xiao Chen's hand from his lap and unceremoniously laid her head on Xiao Chen's lap. "Did the Prime Minister's residence mistreat you?" Xiao Chen narrowed his eyes and gently placed his hand on Jing Yu's stomach as he asked. "No, I just couldn't help but eat when I saw something delicious. In the end, I accidentally ate too much." Jing Yu helplessly pouted, but her words made Xiao Chen not know whether to laugh or cry. "Was what you said at the banquet today true?" Xiao Chen's hand paused as he looked at Jing Yu and asked. "What do you mean, true or false?" Jing Yu didn't care as she pursed her lips and said, "You underestimate me too much. Do you think such a small matter can stump me? That is to say, you can really solve that chess game?" Xiao Chen's eyes lit up slightly as he lowered his head to look at Jing Yu, who was lying on his lap. There was some surprise in his eyes, but he didn't show it. In the depths of his eyes, there was a hint of scrutiny. "Don't worry, such a childish thing can't be any simpler." Jing Yu grinned and said, "But I still need to put in some effort. You have to find me a child above the age of 10. It's best if he can read and not be too silly." Xiao Chen's face darkened. What did she mean by not being too silly? Wei Ling, Mu Qinghua, and the others were all shocked when Xiao Chen brought Jing Yu back to the prince's residence. In the embassy, they all sent their own people to investigate Jing Yu. They were extremely curious. Who was Jing Yu? What was so great about her relationship with the 9th emperors? There wasn't much difficulty in finding out about Jing Yu. She was the fiancée of the 9th emperors. This piece of news shocked Wei Ling and Mu Qinghua. In the courtyard of the embassy, Mu Qinghua looked at the introduction of Jing Yu and raised her eyebrows slightly as she said with surprise, "A woman brought back from the Roman forest? She can actually make Grey Wolf to listen to her? She is indeed not simple. Brother! That damned woman. She is actually Xiao Chen's fiancée." Mu Xiaoya's face was red with anger. She stomped her feet and said, "Then what should I do?" "Brother, you have to think of a way to kill this woman." "Shut up!" Mu Qinghua shouted coldly. She stared at Mu Xiaoya with a pair of cold eyes and said, "Is it because I have spoiled you too much? This is Tokyo, not Nanli. You better know your place. If you ruin this consort's grand plan, even if you're my younger sister, I definitely won't let you off easily." Mu Qinghua's eyes were as cold as a poisonous snake's as she said this. She looked at Mu Xiaoya with a murderous gaze. In Mu Qinghua's eyes, there was no such thing as bloodline. What he wanted was supreme power. Otherwise, why would he eliminate all his brothers and become the crown prince of the Eastern Palace? Mu Xiaoya could only say that she was too lucky. She was a princess and not a prince. Moreover, father and mother doted on Mu Xiaoya. That was why Mu Qinghua didn't do anything to Mu Xiaoya. After all, she was someone who couldn't threaten him. It didn't matter whether she was alive or dead. Chapter 376. Yes. Mu Xiaoya lowered her head in fear and said, "I know, get out." Mu Qinghua scolded unceremoniously. Mu Xiaoya didn't dare to say a word and quickly ran out of the room. She couldn't help but feel wronged. Before Mu Qinghua became the crown prince, he was very good to her and never said a harsh word to her. However, she didn't know what happened later. Her brothers died one after another. Now, she only had one brother left, but he no longer doted on her like before. Mu Xiaoya hid in her room. Tears flowed out of her eyes uncontrollably. She wiped them away and then they flowed out again. She told herself over and over again that she couldn't cry. Her brother didn't like her crying. If she cried, he would get angry. Xiao Chen did find a child in the prince's mansion, but this child was different. "Where did you find this child?" Jing Yu stared in shock at the child who was kneeling on the ground covered in dirt. His face was covered in mud, and all she could see was a pair of round eyes staring at her. Jing Yu stared at the child in front of her in shock and was instantly stunned. I found him on the road. Xiao Chen calmly replied. You're strong. Jing Yu stared at Xiao Chen. Was this little beggar really educated? Little friend, tell me, what's your name? Jing Yu coughed and walked toward the child. She revealed what she thought was a very kind smile and asked the child. Your smile is so ugly. Who would have thought that the child would stare at Jing Yu for a long time and then spit out such a sentence? Jing Yu was immediately dumbfounded. Ha. Ha. Jing Yu laughed foolishly. She pointed at the child and asked Xiao Chen, what did he say? He didn't say anything, right? Am I hallucinating? Damn it. How dare you say I'm ugly? Do you think I won't beat you up? Jing Yu immediately went berserk. She glared at the child fiercely. Even uglier. Who would have thought that this child would calmly spit out those 3 words? In that instant, Jing Yu felt as though she had been struck by lightning. Take him down to wash up and change his clothes. Xiao Chen's tone was full of laughter. He waved at Interrogation Officer 1, and Interrogation Officer 1 left with the child as instructed. Jing Yu's face was flushed red. She rolled up her sleeves, looking like she couldn't take it anymore and wanted to beat someone up. She wanted to chase after Interrogation Officer 1, but Xiao Chen hugged her from behind. Let go of me. If I don't beat that stinking brat to death today, I won't eat. Jing Yu couldn't stop struggling. Her words made Xiao Chen's face turn black. Where did you pick him up from? He's simply more infuriating than you. Jing Yu glared at Xiao Chen angrily as she spoke. Xiao Chen narrowed his eyes and looked dangerously at Jing Yu. Cough, cough, cough. Jing Yu suddenly realized that she had said something wrong. She immediately covered her mouth and blinked at Xiao Chen. She giggled and said, No. I meant that he can't compare to you. Who are you? The 9 emperors. Xiao Chen felt a strange feeling when he heard Jing Yu's explanation. What did she mean by, can't compare? Does that mean that I'm more infuriating than he is? Jing Yu's non-stop rambling disrupted Xiao Chen's train of thought. After laughing and joking for a long time, they finally saw Interrogation Officer 1 leading a boy who had already changed his clothes and walked over. He had a very thin and weak body and wore a gray robe. He seemed to be very unused to it and pulled at his own clothes with a cold face. Chapter 377. Jing Yu spat out her tea when she saw the child walk in. This is the brat from just now? Jing Yu's eyes widened as she stared at the child standing in front of her. Her baby face was so adorable. Ugly woman. The boy turned his head away arrogantly, as if he didn't want to look at Jing Yu. This made Jing Yu grit her teeth in anger. However, such an adorable child was behaving so arrogantly. Ambulance. Ambulance. I can't take it anymore. What's your name? Xiao Chen's lips curled up slightly as he looked at the child indifferently. My name is Yijun. When the child heard Xiao Chen's question, his attitude changed 360 degrees. His uneasy gaze and his blushing face made him look like a young daughter-in-law meeting her in-laws for the first time. Yijun? Good name. Xiao Chen nodded calmly. It was obviously a casual compliment, but the child looked as if he had received a great reward. His face turned even redder, and the way he looked at Xiao Chen made Jing Yu grit her teeth in anger. Why is this happening? But the difference was too obvious. Could it be that such a young child was actually gay? Jing Yu looked at Xiao Chen and Yijun with a strange expression. The image of a man against another man in her mind made Jing Yu shudder violently. Do you know why this king asked you to come? Xiao Chen narrowed his eyes slightly as he looked at Yijun and asked. I know. This woman promised the crown prince of Nanli to solve the chess game. 3 days ago, a child solved the game. That child was me, Yijun said seriously. Yijun said seriously. The fluency of his speech almost didn't need to be verified. This child was very smart. Very good. Xiao Chen smiled and said, For the next 3 days, you will stay with her and learn how to solve the game. This king can't solve it, but I believe she can. I believe you can learn it. Yes, I will. Hearing this, Yijun's eyes lit up. In the end, he nodded firmly. Jing Yu brought the child back to the lotus garden. Along the way, The child did not say a single word to Jingyu. He had a cold expression on his face. He was simply a replica of Xiao Qin. Jingyu glared at Yijun and said, "This is your room. You will live here from now on. This is Big Sister Yin Xiao. If you need anything, just tell Big Sister Yin Xiao. Do you understand?" "Ugly woman, don't talk to me in such an idiotic tone. I'm not an idiot." Yijun shook his head proudly and burrowed into his room, leaving behind a flustered Jingyu and a stunned Yin Xiao. The two of them looked at each other. The next morning, while Jingyu was still sleeping, she heard chaotic howls coming from outside the room. Jingyu angrily covered herself with the blanket and burrowed under the blanket again. Finally, the noise was quieter. However, just as Jingyu thought it was over, she suddenly felt something tugging at her blanket. "Ugly woman! Get up quickly! Get up quickly!" Yijun angrily tugged at Jingyu's blanket. "Don't be so noisy. Let me sleep for a while more." Jingyu rolled up the blanket and burrowed her head under it. This made Yijun so angry that he was panting. "Ugly woman! Get up quickly! If you don't get up, I will splash water on you." Yijun's eyes saw the water bottle at the side and immediately shouted. Chapter 378. Go ahead. Jingyu was in a daze and didn't care. She answered casually and went back to sleep. However, in the next second, the cold water made Jingyu jump up abruptly. She stood on the bed with a look of horror. She looked at the cute baby beside the bed who was holding the kettle and blinking at her. "You little brat. I'll chop you up." Jingyu chased after Yijun fiercely. "Sister Yin Xiao, save me. The ugly woman has become a crazy woman." The earth-shattering screams early in the morning caused the prince's mansion to become noisy. Jingyu was woken up by Yijun as she wished and officially started teaching. These symbols are called numbers. Read it as 1, which is our current word, 1. This is 2, and the current word is 2. Jingyu patiently wrote down the numbers with a charcoal pencil. She let Yijun recognize the numbers from 1 to 9 first. Using arithmetic, as long as you can make the total number of the horizontal, vertical, and oblique sides of the grid equal to 15, until all the numbers on the chessboard are added together without missing anything, then the game will be solved. Your task today is to distinguish these symbols from the corresponding words. I'll check later. Jingyu repeated the numbers to Yijun to make sure that he remembered them. Yijun nodded and began to recite them seriously. Jingyu stretched and walked around. Sometimes she ran to the kitchen to play. Suddenly, she thought of making something to eat. She instructed the chef to make octopus balls. Then, she happily carried the octopus balls to Yijun's room. "How is it? Are you done?" Jingyu smiled as she placed the food on Yijun's table and said, "I personally instructed you. Come and try it." "What is this?" Yijun looked at it curiously. Then he widened his eyes and said, "It's the get-rich octopus balls. How do you know how to make them?" "You know about this?" Jingyu casually sat down and said, "This is my invention. Hurry up and try it." "Oh, I got it." Yijun's eyes widened as though he had just been enlightened. "Actually, that you can come here restaurant is not the property of the 9 emperors at all, right? It's yours. Not bad, not bad. You're quite smart." Jingyu smiled as she looked at Yijun and nodded. "The restaurant is mine. The 9 emperors are just a cover. Are you going to eat or not? If you don't want to eat, then I'll eat." "Eat? Who says I'm not eating?" Yijun hurriedly pressed down the meatball with one hand and was about to eat it happily. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something. He looked at Jingyu defensively and said, "Why are you giving it to me? Is there anything you want me to do?" Yijun looked at Jingyu with some vigilance. She was clearly such a young child, but she had such thoughts. Jingyu nodded. Hearing this, Yijun's face turned ugly. He lowered his hand and said, "What do you want me to do?" "What else can we do? Memorize the book after eating. This concerns my brain." Jingyu stood up and said, "Hurry up and eat. Memorize the book after eating, got it?" After she finished speaking, Jingyu strode away like a boss. She did not look at Yijun's shocked and incredulous expression. Jun looked at Jing Yu's departing figure and then looked at the meatball on the table. He did not know why, but he suddenly felt a lump in his throat and an inexplicable warmth rose in his heart. Chapter 379. An inexplicable warmth rose in her heart. Jun was very smart. He familiarized himself with the numbers in just one morning. Jing Yu praised him endlessly. Then, she asked Jun to do the math. Fortunately, Jun had studied math before, but he wasn't proficient. Jing Yu explained it again, and Jun completely understood. It's actually very simple. Jing Yu looked at Jun, who was doing the math, and said, I've already solved the game. I just need to tell you how to make the next move. You just need to memorize the number of moves and we'll win. Hearing this, Jun looked up at Jing Yu in confusion. I'm saying that you don't have to work so hard to solve it yourself. You just need to memorize the number of moves. Jing Yu shrugged and said, with your smart brain, memorizing this should be easy. Why do you have to do the math yourself? It's tiring, isn't it? Jun rejected her without thinking. His little face was filled with determination. He glared at Jing Yu and said, I will definitely solve it myself. I don't want you to do it. Jun looked at Jing Yu angrily, then buried his head and continued to calculate. Jing Yu raised her eyebrows in surprise and shrugged. To make it easier for Jun to solve the game, Xiao Chen specially asked someone to make a chessboard. It was made exactly like the chessboard that Nanli had sent over. He even used a wooden block to write numbers on it so that Jun could solve it faster. For 2 consecutive days, Jing Yu didn't seem to have anything to do. Every morning when she woke up, she saw Jun sitting in the courtyard with a chessboard. He had a brush in his hand and was scribbling something. He seemed to be doing math in a low voice. At night, every time Xiao Chen came to the lotus garden, he would see Jun doing the math. Jing Yu and Xiao Chen both sighed in admiration when they saw Jun's diligent appearance. Such determination and tenacity were extremely rare. However, Jing Yu didn't stay idle for the past 2 days. She suddenly thought of something fun, so she asked Xiao Chen to find something and a carpenter to make it. Jun was also doing the math. Meanwhile, Jing Yu was tinkering with all sorts of strange things. In the blink of an eye, the deadline given by Nanli was 3 days away. However, Jun didn't seem to be able to calculate it. What surprised Jing Yu was that this child's temperament was really very good. He had already reached this point, but Jun didn't show the slightest impatience. He was already patiently calculating step by step. Tomorrow was the day to enter the palace. Jing Yu looked at Jun, who was still calculating. A faint smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. She turned around, entered the room, and fell asleep. Jing Yu was even less anxious. It seemed that she was certain that Jun would be able to solve the game. Yin Xiao was extremely anxious. Every time, she would use the excuse of bringing tea and water to see Jun, but she didn't dare to disturb him. If she was disturbed and something went wrong, it would be over. The next morning, Jing Yu was still sleeping when she was woken up by earth-shattering shouts. I know. Ugly woman, quickly wake up. Jun's voice rang in Jing Yu's ears. She didn't need to think to know that this little brat had barged into her room again. After the incident of water splashing last time, Jing Yu had learned her lesson. She sat up groggily and rubbed her eyes. What do you know? Jing Yu yawned loudly without caring about her image. She rubbed her sleepy eyes and stared at Jun as she asked. Chapter 380. I know the secret of this chess game. Jun looked at Jing Yu excitedly and said, It's actually very simple. As long as you master it, there are countless ways to break it. This chess game is simply too exquisite. Too magical. It's even too simple. Jing Yu stared at Jun, who was about to go crazy, and her face was filled with black lines. It's over. This child has gone crazy. Quick. Let's go to the palace and break the chess game. Jun came forward and grabbed Jing Yu's hand as he shook it. Oh. Little ancestor, what time is it now? Jing Yu wailed and said, Let me sleep a little longer. Last night, I was worried that my head would fall off and I had nightmares all night. Let me sleep a little longer. Jing Yu said as she moved her body and burrowed under the blanket again. Jun was slightly stunned when he heard this. He looked at Jingyu, who had burrowed under the blanket again, and hesitated for a moment. He raised his hand and poked Jingyu's blanket and said, Why do you believe that I can solve the chess game? Aren't you afraid that your head will fall off before I can solve it? Little brat, have you forgotten that you ate my octopus balls? Jingyu poked her head out from under the blanket and stared at Jun as she said, And you're so smart, who else can I trust if not you? After saying this, Jingyu reached out and rubbed Jun's little head. The bright smile on her face stunned Jun for a moment. Then, his eyes curved into crescents as he broke into a smile. Ayaya, it feels so good to the touch. Jingyu rubbed Jun's head and suddenly had the urge to pull Jun into her arms. With this thought, Jingyu did just that. Jun suddenly bumped into Jingyu's arms. His whole body trembled and his face was filled with astonishment. Then, he heard Jingyu's voice and his face suddenly darkened. He bared his fangs and brandished his claws as he struggled and shouted, You ugly woman! Let go of this young master. Early in the morning, there were sounds of panic. At the door, Yin Xiao held her forehead as she looked at the two people who were messing around. She was speechless. 3 days later, Jingyu entered the palace with Jun. Everyone already knew of Jun's identity. A child picked up by the 9 emperors could really solve the Go puzzle? Not only did the people of Nanli not believe it, but even the officials of Tokyo didn't believe it. Originally, he thought that the 9th emperors would find a very smart child who was good at studying. He didn't expect them to find a little beggar to answer the questions. If he answered correctly, it would be a slap to Nanli's face. But if he answered incorrectly, it would be a slap to the Tokyo. In the Great Hall, the chessboard was brought up once again. Envoys from various countries gathered in the hall. Jingyu and Jun followed the 9th emperors and arrived late. What the hell was this? You would have to ask Jingyu. She only arrived after arguing with Jun for half a day. It seems that Miss Jingyu really brought a child to solve the Go puzzle. Mu Qinghua sat on his seat and looked at Jingyu holding Jun's hand as they walked in. A faint smile appeared in his eyes and his face was full of mockery. Since I've promised, I'll naturally do it. Jingyu nodded faintly. I heard that this child is a beggar picked up by the 9th emperors? Mu Qinghua's gaze landed on Jun. He looked quite handsome, but he was still a child. So what if he's a beggar? Jingyu frowned and looked at Mu Qinghua. In our Tokyo, even a little beggar can solve the Go puzzle. In your big Nanli, no one can solve it. I really don't know what to say about you. Crown Prince Mu, you should stop talking. Chapter 381. Mu Qinghua's face was filled with anger. She flicked her sleeves and said, Shameless boasting. Since you are so confident, then please begin. As you wish. Jingyu smiled disdainfully. She lowered her head and asked Jun, how long will it take for you to solve this game? Half an incense stick will be enough. Jun looked at Mu Qinghua proudly. When he finished speaking, everyone's expression changed. This child actually dared to say such words. Could it be that he really had the confidence to solve this game? Light the incense. A strange look appeared in Xiao Ye's eyes. He waved his hand and a eunuch came over with an incense burner. After breaking it in half, he lit it in front of everyone. Jingyu smiled at Jun and left Jun alone on the high platform. She then sat down beside Xiaoqin. Everyone's expression was a little strange. They glanced at Jingyu and then looked at Jun, who was staring intently at the chessboard. He moved from time to time and muttered to himself. It was obvious that he was calculating. Everyone stretched their necks to see what was going on. However, they could not see anything and were too embarrassed to stand up. Xiao Yi was the same. He watched as the incense burner burned faster and faster. However, there was no movement from Jun. Everyone was looking at the chessboard. Only 2 people were extremely calm. It was obvious that these 2 people were Jingyu and Xiaoqin. This is delicious. Jingyu ate the desserts on the table and nodded repeatedly. This is also delicious. Xiaoqin, try it. Jingyu said as she picked up a piece of food and placed it in front of Xiaoqin's mouth. Xiaoqin was slightly stunned. Then he opened his mouth and took the food from Jingyu's chopsticks. This action was nothing to Jingyu. However, in the eyes of others, a strange feeling emerged. Looking at Jingyu and Xiao Chen's unbridled display of affection, Helian Theo's eyes darkened and he stopped drinking. Mu Xiaoye was so angry that her teeth itched. It was as if she would rush over and fight with Jingyu in the next second. If it wasn't for Mu Qinghua beside her, Mu Xiaoye would probably have gone berserk. More food? Xiao Chen and Jingyu were both addicted. Jingyu's action of feeding them food greatly pleased the 9 emperors. Don't you know how to do it yourself? Jingyu glared at Xiao Chen. However, Xiao Chen shifted his body and put his large hand around Jingyu's waist. He said righteously, I don't have enough hands. Jingyu's face darkened. While Jingyu was eating happily, the incense on the other side had also gradually burned to the bottom. Xiao Ye's eyes revealed a hint of anxiety as he raised his hand and pushed one last time. With a kacha sound, everyone's eyes widened as they stared at the movements on the high platform. It's unlocked. An old official stood up excitedly. Oh my God, it's really been solved. Everyone stood up with a look of surprise, and their eyes fell on Yi-jun who was sitting on the high seat. Kacha, kacha. A series of cracking sounds were heard. Yi-jun stood up and took a step back. The chessboard on the stone platform seemed to have broken free from some kind of restraint. The chessboard cracked from the middle and slowly moved to the sides under everyone's astonished gaze. Yi-jun also looked at the situation in front of him in surprise. Jingyu quickly stood up and walked forward. She lowered her head and looked at the item on the chessboard. It was a pitch-black box. Puzzled, Jingyu reached out and took it out. Then she closed the chessboard. Chapter 382. What is this thing? Jingyu examined it for a bit. It was just an ordinary box, but the material was not ordinary. It was actually not damaged after so long. Everyone stretched their necks and watched as Jingyu opened the box. Inside the box was something like a scroll. Jingyu raised her hand and unfolded the scroll. However, when she unfolded it, a layer of dust came out. There was nothing on it. What is this? Jingyu was stunned. Looking at the blank scroll, she suddenly felt like she was being played. Cough, cough, cough. Mu Qinghua was also stunned for a long time. So this thing that was wrapped so tightly was just a blank scroll? Jingyu spread her hands and said to Xiao Yi, in any case, it's still an antique. Emperor, do you want it? If you don't want it, then give it to Yi-jun to draw for fun. Hearing this, Xiao Ye's face darkened. He helplessly waved his hand and said, take it, thank you, Emperor. Jingyu happily pulled Yi-jun down the stage and sat down. She smiled at Mu Qinghua and said, Crown Prince Mu, I did it. This game of chess has been solved. You should also fulfill your bet. Regarding the seeding of the sea south of Nanli, you should discuss it with the Emperor. Tokyo is really full of talents. Mu Qinghua's face was very ugly. When Jingyu mentioned the bet, his face became even uglier. Jingyu, Zhen really didn't misjudge you. Xiao Yi laughed loudly and said, you've done so much for Tokyo. What reward do you want? Reward? Jingyu rolled her eyes and looked at Xiao Yi with a smile. Your Majesty, you know that I am very interested in business. If your Majesty wants to reward me, can you give me a pass? In the future, Jingyu's caravan will be able to travel freely in our Tokyo. Xiao Yi raised his eyebrows with interest and said faintly, Zhen has heard of your restaurants. If it's just a Tokyo, then there's no problem. Zhen will allow it. Thank you, Your Majesty. May Your Majesty live for 10,000 years. Jingyu thanked the Emperor from the bottom of her heart. Unimpeded. This was a huge matter. In the future, Jingyu's business could be opened all over Tokyo. How could she not be excited? Between Jingyu and Xiao Yi, one was asking for a reward, while the other was agreeing. This kind of behavior made Mu Qinghua's expression turn uglier and uglier. However, she still endured it and said a few words to smooth things over with a smile. Then she said to Xiao Yi, Your Majesty, actually, other than sending gifts, I, Nanli, came here this time for a more important matter. Oh, What matter is so important to Crown Prince Mu? Xiao Ye's eyes flashed. He knew that something big was about to happen. This matter is related to my little sister. Naturally, this prince will treat it with great importance. Mu Qinghua smiled faintly and said, Your Majesty, my Nanli and Tokyo are the closest to each other. We are indebted to the emperor for taking care of us for so many years. Moreover, my little sister, Princess Xiao Yu, has reached the marriageable age. Therefore, I want to make a marriage alliance with the Tokyo to improve the relationship between our two countries. What does your Majesty think? Mu Qinghua stood up and spoke with the aura of a prince. Then he smiled and asked Xiao Yi. Chapter 383. It is exactly what I want for Nanli to have such thoughts. However, which of my sons does Princess Xiao Ye wish to marry? Xiao Ye's words were quite clear. A marriage alliance was a good thing, but the person to be married to would naturally be one of his sons. Your Majesty, Princess Xiao Ye is the only princess in Nanli. Her status cannot be weak. Moreover, my little sister has been unable to forget the sight of the 9th emperors for a long time. Thus, the person to be married to this marriage alliance is not one of the princes, but the 9th emperors, Xiao Qin. Mu Qinghua's words left the hall silent. Xiao Ye's expression changed, but he still concealed it. He chuckled and said to Mu Qinghua, Crown Prince Mu, you may not know this, but the position of the 9th emperor's first wife has already been decided. Princess Xiao Ye's status is noble and naturally cannot be a concubine. Why don't we change the person for this marriage alliance? Your Majesty, the candidate for the 9th emperor's first wife you mentioned is her, right? Mu Xiaoye stood up and pointed at Jingyu arrogantly. Xiao Ye's brows twitched as he nodded. You're Jingyu, right? Mu Xiaoye lifted her chin and looked at Jingyu. You are only the daughter of a minister. This princess is the princess of Nanli. Now, I want to be the concubine of the 9th emperors. You voluntarily withdraw and give up the position of the 9th imperial concubine. These words were said so confidently that Jingyu's eyes widened in shock. She looked at Mu Xiaoye strangely. Crown Prince Mu. Jingyu coughed and said, Hurry and bring your princess back for treatment. She will not be able to make it if her illness is not treated soon. What? Jingyu's words stunned Mu Qinghua and Xiao Yi. Why is your brain so slow at such a young age? Jingyu sighed and said, In the land of Tokyo, Nanli is nothing. So what if she was a princess? I will definitely be the 9th imperial concubine. Bite me if you don't like it. He actually wants me to withdraw. This child is really sick. After Jingyu finished speaking, everyone's expression became strange. However, Helian Theo's eyes were smiling as he laughed out loud. Mu Qinghua immediately turned her head and glared at Helian Theo. Wei Ling also raised his eyebrows in amusement. Jingyu? How dare you insult me? Mu Xiaoye's face was livid as she glared at Jingyu. Nonsense. When did I insult you? Jingyu's face suddenly turned serious as she said seriously, I was clearly speaking the truth. I can't even speak the truth. How can I live like this? You do. Mu Xiaoye's face turned red. Jingyu's playful manner made everyone feel extremely uncomfortable, trying to hold back their laughter. Xiao Chen, who was beside her, also had a happy expression. Xiao Yi also had a faint smile in his eyes, but he still pretended to cough. Jingyu. Since you don't want to withdraw, then let's have a match. Who will be the 9th emperor's first concubine? Mu Xiaoye angrily pointed at Jingyu and shouted. Not interested. Jingyu calmly threw 3 words at Mu Xiaoye. Are you afraid? Mu Xiaoye looked at Jingyu proudly and said, Afraid that you will lose to me? How can you be the 9th emperor's first concubine if you are so cowardly? Chapter 384. Jingyu was unhappy. What does this have to do with being the first consort of the 9th emperors? All right. Xiao Yi raised his hand and interrupted Jingyu. He frowned and looked at Mu Xiaoye, then turned to Jingyu. Finally, he sighed and said to Mu Qinghua, Crown Prince Mu, how about how about we change the candidate for this marriage? Your Majesty, you have seen my little sister's determination. She will not marry anyone other than the 9th Empress. Mu Qinghua smiled and said, why don't we do as my little sister suggested? Let Jingyu compete with my little sister. The loser will automatically withdraw. That is indeed a good idea. Xiao Yi nodded and looked at Jingyu. Jingyu, what do you think? Jingyu's mouth twitched. It was obvious that Xiao Yi was just asking for a formality. It didn't matter if Jingyu agreed or not. Jingyu could only nod in agreement. Mu Xiaoye proudly lifted her chin and looked at Jingyu with disdain. Since it is a competition between the 9th imperial concubine, then it should be a competition between the 4 arts. Xiao Yi smiled faintly and said, Your Majesty, I feel that the 4 arts alone won't reflect anything. What kind of person is the 9th Empress? Since she is worthy of the 9th Emperors, then she must be proficient in both the arts. I feel that the martial arts competition should be held as well. Mu Qinghua's eyes flashed with a scheming smile as he squinted at Xiao Yi. Both of you are women. I don't think this is appropriate, right? Xiao Ye's gaze fell on Mu Xiaoye and Jingyu. I am not afraid. If you want to compete, then bring it on. Mu Xiaoye said arrogantly. Jingyu rolled her eyes as if she was looking at an idiot. Since both of you don't have any questions, why don't we settle it like this? Mu Qinghua smiled faintly and said, Jingyu and my sister will each choose one of the 4 arts to compete in. Your Majesty, why don't you choose the martial arts test? All right. Xiao Yi nodded. Jingyu, I want to compete with you. Mu Xiaoye shouted at Jingyu impatiently. I choose Go. Jingyu said weakly. She looked like she lacked confidence. In fact, Jingyu felt that it was too boring and she was not interested at all. All right, the 2 rounds have been decided. Your Majesty, how about another combat test? Mu Qinghua turned to look at Xiao Yi, who was sitting on the high seat. Coincidentally, a horse merchant bought a few wild horses from the distant desert a few days ago. They have yet to be tamed and even the horse trainers in the palace are unable to tame them. The last round will be horse taming. If the 2 of you can tame these wild horses, then you will definitely be worthy of the 9th Emperors. Xiao Yi said with a faint smile in his eyes. In fact, Xiao Ye's original intention was that if the horse trainers were unable to tame these wild horses, then the 2 of them definitely would not be able to do it either. Then, wouldn't a peaceful ending be perfect? Your Majesty, this combat test is just right. Let's use horse taming. Mu Qinghua smiled faintly and said, 2 out of 3 rounds. The loser will automatically withdraw from the competition. Do you agree? No problem. Mu Xiaoye agreed without hesitation. Jingyu yawned and nodded faintly. Xiao Yi immediately announced that the competition would begin in 3 days. These 3 days were for the 2 of them to prepare. After the palace banquet ended, the news of Jingyu and Nan Li's princess, Mu Xiaoye's competition spread like wildfire. When they found out that it was to compete for the position of the 9th Emperor's first wife, everyone's eyes lit up with interest. Chapter 385. As expected of the 9th Emperors, all his love affairs had gone to other countries. The imperial city was once again in an uproar. Not sure if it was because someone had stirred it up or if these people were just bored, they actually set up a gambling house in the middle of the street to bet on who would win. For a moment, the imperial city was bustling with noise and excitement. Those women who admired the 9th Emperors also started to place their bets. What? Only a quarter of the people bet on me? Jingyu, who was in the prince's residence, simply went berserk when she heard the news. Ugly woman, don't be sad. This young master has bet 1 tael of silver on you. You will win. Yijun patted Jingyu's shoulder like a little adult and said solemnly. Jingyu's face darkened and she suddenly had the urge to beat someone up. Was she that unpopular? This was a Tokyo after all. She was a proper Tokyo. Only 1 day had passed and the number of people who bet on Jingyu's loss had already increased to 5 to 1. Jingyu, who was in the prince's residence, gritted her teeth in anger and finally couldn't take it anymore. She waved her hand and ordered all the restaurants, shops and other businesses to place their bets. The effect was obvious. But the most infuriating thing was that Xiao Jingran also went to place his bets, and he actually bet on Mu Xiaoye. Moreover, he bet 1,000 taels of silver. Xiao Jingran, you traitor! Jing Yu completely went berserk. Imperial concubine, the crown prince also placed his bet. Yin Xiao spoke again. He also bet 1,000 taels of gold on you. The crown prince? Jing Yu blinked and immediately thought of Xiao Qin. Could it be that Xiao Qin asked the crown prince to place his bet? She didn't seem to have any relationship with the crown prince, so this was the only possibility. Yin Xiao nodded and said, Cebu and northern pastoral countries also participated. They both bet on Princess Xiaoyi. The 9th emperors and young Master Fong also bet on you. The corners of Jing Yu's mouth twitched. Why did she feel that a gamble had turned into a battlefield with the addition of these people? Jing Yu was in the prince's residence with a conflicted expression. The gambling outside was getting bigger and bigger. In the end, it became a battle between the crown prince and Xiao Jingran. However, at this moment, the 9th emperors suddenly sent a message asking them to lower the odds again. On the 3rd day, the score had become 10-1. Jing Yu was in tears. At this moment, Helian Theo suddenly switched sides and bet 3,000 taels on Jing Yu. The 9 emperors also bet a few thousand taels. If Jing Yu were to win, the bet would be increased tenfold. This amount of 10 million taels was really enough to make anyone jealous. In these 3 days, Jing Yu only ate and slept. She was not in the mood for the competition at all. Yi Jun sighed every day. Sigh. My 1 tael of silver was wasted. Before leaving, Yi Jun sighed again. He was immediately beaten up by Jing Yu, who was in a state of hidden bitterness. Then he followed the 9th imperial uncle's carriage out of the door and arrived at the location of the competition. The competition venue was outside the palace. The raised platform was the stage where Jing Yu and Mu Xiaoye would be performing. There were also chairs below, where the famous scholars and teachers sat. Fang Zicheng's father, Fang Yuanyang, was among them. Grand Tutor Fu Yan was also among them. However, there was one person among them that surprised Jing Yu. The old man sitting in the middle had his eyes closed. Wasn't this the old man that Jing Yu and Shangguan Linglan had met on the way to Baofeng Temple? Chapter 386. It was the old man who had brought his child to seek medical treatment. Xiao Qin, who is that person sitting in the middle? Jing Yu asked curiously as she looked at Xiao Qin. Su He, old Mr. Su from Jiangnan. He is a renowned scholar. More than half of the court officials have been taught by old Mr. Su. The emperor had also studied under old Mr. Su for 3 months. He is today's chief examiner. Xiao Chen's gaze landed on the old man as he said faintly. Ah! Jing Yu's eyes widened. So this old man is so powerful. Jing Yu and Mu Xiaoye had arrived. On the stage, a middle-aged man acted as the MC and announced the process of the competition. Behind him, a group of guards carried a table up and laid out a brush, ink, paper, and inkstone. As the MC announced the competition, Jing Yu and Mu Xiaoye slowly walked up the stage. Jing Yu, you are going to lose. Mu Xiaoye snorted arrogantly and said to Jing Yu. Boring. Jing Yu rolled her eyes and spat out 2 words. She then sat down on her seat and stared at the ink, paper, and inkstone. Her shoulders slumped. Why is it a brush again? The time limit is 4 hours. After the MC announced, a disc was carried up. It was the disc used to record time. There was a stick on it and below it was the time. With the rotation of the sun, one would know the time. The competition had officially begun. Mu Xiaoye picked up the brush and started painting. Her focused expression was exceptionally pleasing to the eyes. On the other hand, Jing Yu was still in a daze. Jing Yu raised her hand to pick up the brush, but put it down again. Jing Lang and Shangguan Linglan, who were watching from the sidelines, were extremely anxious. Jing Yu hesitated for a long time. In the end, she raised her hand and called the MC over. She whispered a few words to the MC and finally nodded under the MC's strange gaze. Everyone was confused. Not long after, they saw a guard carrying a pot of charcoal over and placing it beside Jing Yu. Jing Yu immediately beamed with joy and nodded to the MC. Under everyone's surprised gaze, she picked up the black charcoal and began to whittle it in front of everyone. She whittled it into the shape of a brush and then began to paint. While she was painting, she looked up from time to time. Everyone finally realized what Jing Yu was looking at. Jing Yu was looking at Su-hee? Su-hee also had a strange expression on his face. He naturally recognized Jing Yu and was a little surprised. However, his surprise did not last long. Now, he saw that Jing Yu was looking at him while she was painting. Could it be that Jing Yu was painting a portrait of him? Thinking of this, Su-hee calmed down and continued to sit quietly, allowing Jing Yu to paint. Time passed quietly. Jing Yu and Mu Xiaoya looked completely different when they were painting. Jing Yu would occasionally reach out to wipe the paper and paint. Her black hand would casually wipe her face and her face would instantly darken. Such a genuine expression made the surrounding spectators laugh. They suddenly felt that Jing Yu was so adorable. Before 4 hours had passed, the two of them had finished painting. Jing Yu finally straightened her body and looked down at her black hand silently. Her bright eyes looked around and met the gazes of Xiao Qin and Shangguan Linglong. She immediately revealed a bright smile. The first to be displayed was Mu Xiaoya's painting. It was a rather grand painting of mountains and rivers. The strength of the brush and the artistic conception revealed showed that this painting was undoubtedly a masterpiece. The few officials who came forward nodded their heads, expressing that this was an excellent piece of work. Chapter 387. No wonder Mu Xiaoya wanted to compete. She was good at it. After Mu Xiaoya finished, everyone's eyes fell on Jing Yu. Everyone saw that Jing Yu didn't use a brush to draw. Instead, she used the charcoal that was thrown on the ground. What would the drawing look like if she used charcoal to draw? The group of officials walked to Jing Yu's side. 2 guards held up Jing Yu's drawing. Everyone looked up and froze. On the white paper, there was only a human head. That person was naturally Su-hee. The 3-dimensional facial features, the fine lines, and even the strands of hair could be seen clearly. This drawing skill was one of a kind. Elder Su, one of the officials said in a daze. Why are there 2 Elder Sus? Ha! Su-hee laughed loudly. Everyone laughed as well. They were all impressed by Jing Yu's drawing. How did you draw with charcoal? One of the officials couldn't help but ask. This. Jing Yu rolled her eyes. She didn't know how to explain. Just as she was thinking about how to get away with it, she heard Su-hee say, Official Zhang, this is Jing Yu's teacher's matter. I'm afraid it's not appropriate for me to speak. After Su-hee's words, the official called Official Zhang nodded his head in agreement. Yes. Your student has been rude. Official Zhang bowed. No matter how he looked at it, it was a strange scene. Su-hee and Lord Zhang were about the same age, and Lord Zhang considered himself to be a student. It seemed that Su-hee's reputation was not in vain. From the perspective of drawing, Princess Xiaoya has undoubtedly won this round. Jing Yu, although your drawing is vivid and lifelike, but... Su-hee paused. He seemed to want to say something, but he felt that it wasn't right. Thousands of thoughts ran through his mind, but he didn't know what to say. I understand. Jing Yu smiled and said, I lost this round. Besides, I don't know how to draw. This drawing is a gift for Elder Su. Jing Yu admitted it generously. Su-hee stroked his beard and smiled when he heard Jing Yu's words. He thanked Jing Yu and accepted the painting without hesitation. Then, he looked at Jing Yu with more affection. Mu Xiaoya heard Jing Yu's response, but she couldn't feel happy. She was the one who had won in the end. But Mu Xiaoya looked at the portrait of Su-hee on display. It was so charming and it was even drawn with charcoal. No matter how she looked at it, she would never be able to draw something like this. She had never seen anyone who could draw a portrait so exquisitely. It was as if it was carved. Mu Xiaoya's drawing was good. Mu Xiaoya won this round. But outside, everyone was talking about Jing Yu's drawing skills that they had never seen before. The whole morning passed. After the drawing competition, it was time for the chess competition in the afternoon. Mu Xiaoya's victory in the first round gave everyone a lot of confidence. Those who were still hesitating and didn't know who to bet on all ran to Mu Xiaoya's camp. Jing Yu didn't care at all. The afternoon competition started after Jing Yu finished her lunch. This time, the chess competition was held in a restaurant. This restaurant was antique and filled with the smell of books. On the second floor, there was a chessboard. Jing Yu and Mu Xiaoya sat facing each other. Below them, there were many guests. Under the railing on the second floor, a huge chessboard was displayed. Servants ran up and down, in charge of checking the positions of the two and announcing the game. Chapter 388. The servants below were holding large chess pieces and playing chess on the huge chessboard for the audience to watch. Jing Yu yawned out of boredom. She called the waiter over, but where did he get the melon seeds and fruits? He ate them right in front of Mu Xiaoya, without the slightest hint of nervousness. But in ancient times, Jing Yu only knew how to play the four arts, and that was Go. When she was training as a special agent, her mentor was a top Jing Yu in the country. He would play Go with her whenever he was free. Over time, Jing Yu had learned all of her mentor's Go skills. She even surpassed him. Now, in Jing Yu's eyes, there was really nothing to play about Go. She could tell whether a person knew how to play Go by looking at her first move. Obviously, in Jing Yu's eyes, Mu Xiaoya was trash. Crack, crack. Jing Yu was eating melon seeds as she stared at Mu Xiaoya. Mu Xiaoya's anxious look was particularly interesting. It's your turn. Mu Xiaoya was annoyed by the sound of Jing Yu snacking on melon seeds. She thought for a while before placing a chess piece and roaring at Jing Yu angrily. Jing Yu rolled her eyes in boredom. She casually picked up a chess piece and placed it down as if she didn't even need to think about it. However, the position she placed down blocked the exit that Mu Xiaoya had found with great difficulty. Below the balcony, the scholars who were watching the game either exclaimed in admiration or shook their heads and sighed. Jing Yu's chess skills were amazing. There was almost no need to continue watching the game. Mu Xiaoya would definitely lose the game. However, Jing Yu seemed to be teasing Mu Xiaoya. Every time Mu Xiaoya was about to lose, she would find an exit and find a chance to survive. In this way, the two played for an entire afternoon. Jing Yu finally finished her food. Mu Xiaoya was almost lying on the chessboard. Jing Yu picked up a chess piece and said, "That's enough. You've lost." With that, Jing Yu raised her hand and placed a piece. As soon as the piece was placed, all the white pieces on the chessboard were killed. There was no chance of survival. Jing Yu stood up calmly and stretched. Under everyone's dumbfounded gaze, she slowly walked downstairs. When Xiaochen arrived at the building, he had just finished watching the game. His eyes were filled with surprise. Such an exquisite design and a relentless encirclement. Xiaochen knew that it was impossible for him to beat Jing Yu's Go skills. As he was thinking, he saw Jing Yu walking down the stairs towards him. Her unhappy expression made Xiaochen raise his eyebrows. The food in this restaurant doesn't taste good. Who would have thought that Jing Yu would complain about the food as soon as she opened her mouth? Xiaochen was silent for a moment before saying, "I'll take you to eat something delicious." But Jing Yu answered excitedly. She followed Xiaochen away under the dumbfounded gaze of the crowd behind her. Mu Xiaoya was just walking down the stairs. She looked at the two of them walking away hand in hand with a complicated expression. She had lost this game with shame. In fact, Mu Xiaoya knew that if Jing Yu wanted to, she could defeat her within half an hour. However, Jing Yu held back again and again, giving her a chance to live. If this continued, she would have lost the entire game. Mu Xiaoya had to admit that she had lost this game very convincingly. Her Go skills were not as good as Jing Yu's Go skills. After a whole day of competition, Jing Yu returned to her room after eating and drinking to her heart's content. She excitedly talked about what she heard outside. Jing Yu's chess skills were sought after by all kinds of scholars. They all asked Jing Yu to give them some pointers. Chapter 389. Jing Yu's chess skills were sought after by all sorts of scholars, and they all requested Jing Yu to give them some pointers. Her carving-like drawing skills were even more astonishing. There were even people who went to Su He's residence to take another look at the portrait. In an instant, Jing Yu's fame rose again. That night, Jing Yu hugged the Tokyo Chronicles of the Annals of the Grand Historian and read it with great interest. After flipping through it for a long time, Jing Yu couldn't find any information about the unusual pupils. She had no choice but to flip through the records of the continent again, but she still couldn't find anything. When Xiao Qin entered the room, he saw Jing Yu hugging a book and reading it. "What are you doing?" Xiao Qin stood behind Jing Yu and asked faintly. "Aya." Jing Yu jumped in fright and almost bit her own tongue. She turned to stare at Xiao Qin and said, "Why are you walking so silently? You scared me to death." Xiao Qin raised his eyebrows as he sat beside Jing Yu. He lowered his head to look at the open book and said faintly, "When did you start to care so much about the matters of the continent? Can't I just watch and play?" She covered the book in her hand and put it aside. She climbed onto the bed on all fours and muttered, "Time to sleep, time to sleep. I'm so sleepy. I've been busy all day." Xiao Qin looked helplessly at Jing Yu, who had crawled into bed, but didn't say anything. His gaze fell on the book, and a different expression flashed across his eyes. It was the same night, but in a different place with a different person. Mu Qinghua shouted angrily. Mu Xiaoye, who was standing in front of her, lowered her head in fear and didn't dare to say a word. "You can't even beat Jing Yu. Useless." Mu Qinghua spun in a circle on the spot, her eyes filled with anxiety. Mu Xiaoye didn't dare to move an inch under the pressure of her anger. The atmosphere in the room was oppressive. At this moment, a voice came from outside. "Your Highness, there's a man in black outside asking for an audience. He claims to be your Highness' friend." Mu Qinghua heard the voice of the guard at the door. Mu Qinghua paused and a look of doubt flashed in her eyes. "Friend? Please come in." After some consideration, Mu Qinghua still invited him in. A person wearing a black cloak stood in front of Mu Qinghua. Her figure was slightly petite, and her exposed hands told Mu Qinghua that this person was obviously a woman. "Greetings to Crown Prince Mu." A clear voice rang out. The person in the cloak slowly raised her head, revealing the face hidden under the brim of the hat. A gentle face with delicate cheeks. Wasn't this person Jing Yan? Mu Qinghua's eyes flashed with surprise. Clearly, Mu Qinghua didn't expect the person to be Jing Yan. "If I didn't remember wrongly, you are the granddaughter of the Prime Minister's concubine, Jing Yan?" Mu Qinghua looked at Jing Yan and said faintly, "Ah, Crown Prince Mu has a good memory." When Jing Yan heard the word concubine, anger flashed in her eyes, but she still lowered her eyes and answered, "May I know why Miss Jing Yan is here in the middle of the night?" Mu Qinghua didn't care about Jing Yan at all. With his status as the crown prince, he really didn't care about a minister's daughter. Moreover, she was the daughter of a concubine, even though she was quite pretty. "I'm here for Princess Xiaoye," Jing Yan said with a faint smile in her eyes. She turned to look at Mu Xiaoye and said, Chapter 390. "Oh!" Mu Qinghua's eyes were filled with interest when she heard this. She stared at Jing Yan with interest. Today's competition has ended and Princess Xiaoye did not win. Tomorrow's horse taming test will be the key to victory. I wonder how confident Princess Xiaoye is in winning tomorrow's horse taming test? Jing Yan asked Mu Xiaoye with a faint smile on her face. "I have been in and out of the military camp since I was young. What kind of wild horse have I not tamed?" Mu Xiaoye raised her chin proudly and said, "I will definitely win tomorrow's competition." "Princess Xiaoye, I'm afraid you don't know Jing Yu well." Jing Yan immediately laughed when she heard this. Her eyes were filled with darkness as she coldly said, "You can tame a fierce horse, but Jing Yu, she can tame a vicious wolf." What? Mu Xiaoye's eyes widened in shock as she looked at Jing Yan. "Prince Mu, you must have heard of this, right?" Jing Yan did not answer, but turned to Mu Qinghua. Mu Qinghua's face turned slightly solemn. She narrowed her eyes and said, "I've investigated Jing Yu. She tamed 2 gray wolves and kept them by her side. I also know that Jing Yu grew up in the Roman forest and has been with beasts since she was young." "She grew up in the forest?" Mu Xiaoye's eyes were filled with shock. She did not expect Jing Yu's background to be like this. She thought that Jing Yu was just an ordinary girl from a prestigious family. "That's right. If Princess Xiaoye wants to win in horse taming, I'm afraid it will be difficult. Jing Yan said calmly. I originally thought that Jing Yu was a wild girl who grew up in the forest, so I was sure that she would not know anything about the four arts. But you are different. You are the princess of Nanli. As long as you can defeat Jing Yu in the first 2 rounds, there will be no need for the second round. But I didn't expect you to be so useless. Mu Qinghua scolded Mu Xiaoye angrily. Mu Xiaoye wanted to defend herself, but she did not dare to say it out loud. Crown Prince Mu, I came late at night to deliver treasures to Princess Xiaoyu. Jing Yan faintly smiled. She took out a small jade bottle and said, This is the magic treasure for Princess Xiaoyu's victory tomorrow. What is this? Mu Qinghua's eyes flickered as she looked up at Jing Yan. As long as you sprinkle this thing on Jing Yu's clothes, tomorrow's victory will definitely be yours. Jing Yan's expression was very calm, and there was not even the slightest fluctuation in her eyes. Mu Qinghua and Mu Xiaoye's eyes widened when they heard this. You want me to use medicine? Mu Qinghua squinted at Jing Yu and said, If I remember correctly, Jing Yu is your sister, right? Why should I believe you? Crown Prince Mu, you must be joking. Jing Yan covered her mouth and laughed. There can only be one granddaughter in the Prime Minister's residence. I don't have an elder sister. As Jing Yan's words fell, Mu Qinghua's lips slowly curled into a smile. Mu Xiaoye, who was standing at the side, trembled and her face turned pale. Her gaze fell on the white jade bottle on the table, and she suddenly felt like she did not want to compete. It's up to Crown Prince Mu whether you want to do it or not. I'm just here to deliver something. With that, Jing Yan smiled faintly and bent down. She lifted her hand to cover her head and turned to leave. That petite figure walked out of the embassy's back door and strolled into a small alley. She slowly stopped in her tracks. Chapter 391. She strolled into the small alley and slowly stopped in her tracks. In the darkness of the night, a black figure appeared behind her like a ghost. His eyes were sunken in on his pale cheeks as he knelt on the ground and bowed to the person wrapped in a black cloak. Master, everything is done. An indifferent reply rang out. The woman in the darkness curled her lips in a mesmerizing manner. Xiao Chengij, we will be able to meet soon. The coquettish words were blown away by the night wind. The soft laughter seemed to be filled with joy, but it was also mixed with a strong murderous intent. The night wind blew again, but there was no one left in the small alley. No one knew about this. The next morning was the last round of the competition, the taming of wild horses. This round of competition was held in the horse track. The emperor and the princes of various countries came to watch. The large horse track was completely surrounded by guards. Because the emperor and the princes of various countries were present, the safety of the horse track had to be taken care of. Thus, no commoners were allowed to come. Shangguan Linglan, Fang Zicheng, and the others relied on their relationship with their parents to find a place in the audience. Before the horse taming began, the 4 wild horses were released. With their hair and muscular limbs, these 4 horses were undoubtedly the best of the best. Wei Ling and Helian Theo, who were sitting at the head of the table, had their eyes lit up. As expected of the horses from the desert, they were incomparable to the horses from their own countries. Before the horse taming began, Jing Yu and Mu Xiaoye showed their faces. Then, they each went to change into their riding attire before the horse taming began. Who prepared the clothes for me? At the changing area, Jing Yu looked at the riding attire neatly placed on the rack with a puzzled expression. Then she thought of Xiao Chen. Under these circumstances, there was no one else but Xiao Chen who would prepare clothes for her. Moreover, the color and style of the clothes were exactly what she liked. Not bad. Xiao Chen knows me best. Jing Yu changed into the attire neatly. Looking down at the red and black riding attire, her eyes were filled with love. She hummed a tune as she walked back to the horse track. On the way back, she saw Mu Xiaoye coming out from the other side. She smiled and wanted to talk to her. Who knew that Mu Xiaoye would take one look at Jing Yu and turn around to leave? She didn't even give her a chance to speak. Jing Yu was stunned. Did she take the wrong medicine today? Jing Yu was shocked. If it was yesterday, Mu Xiaoye would have glared at her fiercely even if she didn't say anything. However, Mu Xiaoye's strange behavior today made Jingyu very puzzled. When they arrived at the horse track, Xiao Yi said a few words of encouragement. Then, he told her not to force herself if she couldn't tame it. It wasn't a big deal to admit defeat. If Jingyu took Xiao Ye's words seriously, then she would be a fool. This was related to the Tokyo's reputation. If she admitted defeat, then would Xiao Yi let her off easily? Jingyu replied indifferently. Then, she entered the horse track with Mu Xiaoye. Each of them took up half of the horse track to tame it. Jingyu stood at the entrance and looked at the guards surrounding the horse track. It sounded nice that these soldiers were here to protect everyone's safety. In fact, this was another form of demonstration. They were showing the might of the Tokyo soldiers in front of the other three kingdoms. They were telling them that the Tokyo was still strong and that they shouldn't have any thoughts that they shouldn't have. Chapter 392. The gathering of the four countries was a constant show of force, showing off, and suppressing. Wei Ling, Mu Qinghua, and the rest naturally understood Xiao Ye's intention, but they didn't show it on their faces as they calmly watched the competition. This Mu Xiaoye was indeed skillful. Before Jingyu could make a move, Mu Xiaoye had already mounted the horse. Her firm grip on the reins was very skillful. Everyone's attention was drawn to Mu Xiaoye as she sat firmly on the horse's back. The horse neighed and raised its hooves as if it wanted to throw Mu Xiaoye off its back. Peng! Aya! The spectators cried out in surprise. Mu Xiaoye was thrown off the horse's back before she could run. However, Mu Xiaoye wasn't in a hurry. She rolled on the ground and didn't suffer any injuries. This Mu Xiaoye seemed to be stubborn with the horse as she continued to tame it. Tisk tisk tisk. Impressive. Jingyu's eyes were filled with admiration. She looked at Mu Xiaoye, who gritted her teeth and persevered despite being thrown off countless times. Jingyu sat at the side with interest as she watched Mu Xiaoye tame the horse. She wasn't in a hurry at all. Finally, after the fifth attempt, Mu Xiaoye wasn't thrown off the horse's back. The horse galloped past as the spectators applauded and cheered for Mu Xiaoye. Impressive! Jingyu gave Mu Xiaoye a thumbs up. Mu Xiaoye hugged her sore arm as she walked up the stairs. When she saw Jingyu smiling so brightly at her, her heart skipped a beat. She didn't know what drove her, but she moved her lips and said to Jingyu, "Be careful." After saying that, she quickly walked up the stage without giving Jingyu a chance to react. Jingyu was stunned as she stood there. She looked at Mu Xiaoye, who was sitting on the spectator's stand. She suddenly felt that Mu Xiaoye wasn't that annoying after all. She actually told her to be careful. Jingyu grinned and turned to walk towards the horse. It was a glossy black horse. Jingyu smiled and reached out to touch the horse's head, but it snorted and dodged. This action made Jingyu's face darken. "I haven't even ridden it yet, and you're already so disgusted with me?" Jingyu was not in a hurry. She teased the horse as if she was having fun. When it hit on the left, Jingyu stood on the left. When it hit on the right, Jingyu stood on the right. Finally, when the horse walked away impatiently, Jingyu laughed happily. This boy was so arrogant, just like Xiao Chen. If Xiao Chen knew that he had been compared to a horse by Jingyu, he would definitely vomit blood and die. The spectators on the spectators' stand were speechless as they watched Jingyu tease the horse. Was she training the horse? Finally, when everyone couldn't stand it anymore, Jingyu finally moved. Under everyone's gaze, Jingyu did what Mu Xiaoye had done previously. She flipped onto the horse and tried to lead it away. However, just as Jingyu got on the horse began to struggle with all its might. Jingyu quickly grabbed the reins tightly to prevent the horse from throwing her off. This series of actions was no different from when Mu Xiaoye was taming the horse. The horse began to gallop happily. Its movements almost threw Jingyu off. Jingyu was so frightened that she broke out in a cold sweat. She quickly steadied herself. However, just as she steadied herself, the horse raised its front hooves and threw her off its back. "It hurts." Jingyu sat on the ground and grimaced in pain. Chapter 393. You little horse. How dare you bully me? I won't take you back today. You're really letting yourself down. Jingyu jumped up and climbed onto the horse's back again. Everyone broke out in a cold sweat for Jingyu. Her ability to train horses was really frightening. Jingyu actually fought with the horse with brute force. Finally, after being thrown off the horse for the third time, Jingyu got back on the horse again and didn't get thrown off again. Everyone's eyes lit up as they cheered. However, just as everyone was cheering, Jingyu suddenly felt the scene in front of her become illusory. Jingyu! Shangguan Linglan stood up in the stands in shock. Jingyu actually fell off the horse's back again and fell to the ground. Everyone stood up one after another. What's going on? Fang Zicheng was also shocked. Looking at the sudden scene, he couldn't recover for a moment. Jingyu was lying on the ground, paralyzed. All of a sudden, intense pain came from her limbs and bones. Jingyu's vision became blurry. Suddenly, she couldn't see anything clearly. The originally quiet horses suddenly neighed. Under everyone's horrified gaze, the horses that were held by the horse trainer broke free from their reins and rushed towards Jingyu. 4 fierce horses neighed and rushed towards Jingyu. Their speed was as if they wanted to step on Jingyu. Everyone's face turned pale with fright. Behind them, the horse trainer tried to chase after them. However, how could a person outrun a horse? Jingyu lay on the ground, exhausted. Her vision became more and more blurry. Shangguan Linglan's small face was pale with fright. Before he could react, he saw Jing Lang, who was beside him, jump over the fence and run towards Jingyu. Shangguan Linglan's heart trembled and he quickly jumped over the fence. Wait for me. Fang Zicheng wanted to climb over the fence when he saw the two of them. However, when he looked at the height of the fence, he silently walked down the stairs and ran towards Jingyu. During this series of actions, the 4 horses were getting closer and closer. Jingyu tried her best to open her eyes and finally saw the horses that were charging towards her at lightning speed. Her eyes were filled with fear and she felt a burning sensation in her chest, which made Jingyu sober up a little. Stop, Jingyu repeated the words over and over again in her heart. She stood up with difficulty and looked at the horse that was charging towards her. Her pitch-black eyes were moving. Jingyu, get out of the way. Jingyu could no longer hear the roars of the crowd. She just stood there and looked at the 4 horses that were charging towards her. Everyone stood up and looked at Jingyu. Stop right there. Jingyu, who had been standing there silently, suddenly roared loudly. Her pitch-black eyes instantly turned golden and green. The horses that were about to reach her neighed and suddenly stopped. Under everyone's shocked gazes, they suddenly knelt on the ground. Some of the horses even knelt down due to inertia and ground their front hooves for a while before finally coming to a stop. Everyone's eyes widened as they looked at the horse track that had quieted down in an instant. The 4 horses seemed to have encountered something terrifying and knelt in front of Jingyu. They lowered their heads and didn't even dare to make a sound. Jingyu, along with Shangguan Linglan, looked at Jingyu in fear. The horse trainer who was chasing after them also had a look of fear on his face. Chapter 394. Demon. After this strange silence, one of the horse trainers looked at Jingyu's silent figure and her strange eyes. Cold sweat dripped from his forehead, and he finally let out a terrified cry, waking everyone up. Damn it. Jing Lang's expression suddenly changed. Jingyu's last bit of consciousness dissipated, and her eyes slowly closed, covering her strange eyes. Jing Lang quickly walked over and caught the tottering Jingyu, holding her in his arms. What happened just now? Yeah, what's happening? Why did I hear someone call her a demon? The stands were filled with confusion, and chaotic voices sounded. Because Jingyu was present, there weren't many people who could see Jingyu's eyes, and they were also far away. However, the 3 horse trainers, as well as Shangguan Linglan and Fang Zicheng, who ran over, saw everything clearly. She's a demon. One of the horse trainers pointed at Jingyu in horror and said, Nonsense. Jing Lang glared at the horse trainer and said, You can't even watch a horse properly. How should you be punished? The horse trainer's expression was slightly strange. He pointed at Jingyu and said, I just saw her eyes. Eyes? Eyes what? Shangguan Linglan and Fang Zicheng both walked over. Shangguan Linglan took a deep breath and said, "Why didn't I see anything just now?" Fang Zicheng, did you see anything? Fang Zicheng shook his head and said, "Your horse training skills are not bad. You were able to tame this horse to kneel on the ground from so far away and save Miss Jingyu's life. If this matter is reported to the emperor, you will definitely be rewarded. The 9 emperors will also be very happy." After Fang Zicheng finished speaking, the 3 horse trainers' expressions changed. "But I just saw." The horse trainer still wanted to say something, but he was scolded by his companion beside him. "You must be seeing things. We didn't see anything." "This." The horse trainer frowned. Although it was only for a moment, he really saw a pair of strange eyes. Could it be that his eyes were really playing tricks on him? Then how do you explain the 4 horses kneeling on the ground? "Ha ha." Fang Zicheng laughed and looked at the person who said he didn't see anything. He asked, "What is your name? With such excellent horse training skills, you really can't stay in the horse farm. There are better jobs outside for you." "I'm Ma Wenrui. Thank you for your appreciation, young Master Fang." Ma Wenrui bowed excitedly. "Not bad, not bad. Good name." Fang Zicheng smiled at Ma Wenrui and said, "You will have a bright future." After saying that, Fang Zicheng followed Jing Lang and Shangguan Linglan to the high platform. On the way, Shangguan Linglan looked at Fang Zicheng strangely and said, "How come I didn't know you were so good at talking?" Cough cough. "I'm just a so-so." Fang Zicheng replied awkwardly. Shangguan Linglan rolled his eyes and looked at Xiao Chen, who was striding over from afar. He was covered in dust. Xiao Chen wasn't here just now, so he saw this scene as soon as he arrived. At this moment, his face was dark as he looked at the fainted Jingyu in Jing Lang's arms. What happened just now? Xiao Yi was also frightened. He looked at Jingyu in Jing Lang's arms and asked. The horse suddenly went crazy. Jingyu couldn't move for some reason. In the end, the horse trainer tamed the wild horse and saved Jingyu from danger. Jing Lang said faintly. Chapter 395. Horse Trainer. Xiao Yi was slightly taken aback. Everyone had heard Jing Yu's shout just now. How did it become the horse trainer's work in the blink of an eye? Yes. Jing Lang nodded. Shangguan Linglan and Fang Zicheng also nodded solemnly. Even if Xiao Yi had doubts in his heart, he couldn't say anything. Helian Theo and Wei Ling's eyes flashed with a strange light. Clearly, they didn't believe Jing Lang's words. She was drugged. Xiao Chen walked over and took Jingyu into his arms. He glanced at Jingyu and his expression turned cold. He narrowed his eyes and asked everyone present, "Who did it?" Everyone was shocked when they heard this. Their eyes were filled with shock. Finally, their gazes landed on Mu Qinghua and Mu Xiaoya. "Why are you all looking at me?" Mu Qinghua's expression changed and she said angrily, "Do you think I would use such a despicable method?" Everyone sneered when they heard this. Xiao Ye's expression also turned ugly. "Your Majesty, Jingyu's following matches can't be carried out at all. Does that mean we've won this match?" Mu Qinghua smiled faintly and said, "With such an ending, it seems like Jingyu can no longer compete for the position of the 9th imperial concubine. Your Majesty, please grant her a marriage as you wish." Mu Qinghua, when did this king say that he wants to marry her? At this moment, Xiao Chen's cold voice sounded. "Xiao Chen, what do you mean?" Mu Qinghua's expression suddenly changed. She stared at Xiao Chen and said, "This king's meaning is very clear." Xiao Chen smiled coldly and said, "You are Nanli's princess. You can marry whoever you want. This king won't marry anyone other than Jingyu." After saying that, Xiao Chen no longer cared about the changing expressions of the crowd and quickly left with Jingyu in his arms. Behind him, Mu Qinghua kicked the table in front of her in exasperation. She turned to look at Xiao Yi and said coldly, "It seems that His Majesty has no intention of forming a marriage alliance. I, Nanli, have brought shame upon myself. Goodbye." Mu Qinghua flicked her sleeves and left. Mu Xiaoya let out a sigh of relief and left with Mu Qinghua. Wei Ling and Helian Xiao had seen enough of the show and naturally didn't stay any longer. They stood up and left. Xiao Ye's face was livid with anger. With a flick of his sleeve, he swept all the things on the table onto the floor. Jing Yu was brought back to the palace. After the doctor examined her, he found that Jing Yu had only been drugged with a special knockout drug. There was nothing wrong with her body and she would wake up at night. Hearing this news, everyone who was worried finally let out a sigh of relief. What happened today? Everyone sat in the main hall of the palace. Xiao Chen looked around and asked indifferently. You already know the whole story, Jing Lang said indifferently. Jing Lang replied indifferently, the most important thing now is to find out who drugged Yue. Shengguan Linglan pursed his lips and looked at Xiao Chen. Ninth Emperors, why aren't you at the horse farm today? Perhaps if you were at the horse farm, this wouldn't have happened. Shanghai Linglan looked at Xiao Chen with a bit of blame and scrutiny. I have something to do. Xiao Chen's breathing paused for a moment. He turned his head and said indifferently, I will send people to investigate Jing Yu's matter. You all can go back first. Xiao Chen clearly didn't want to ask any more questions. He casually asked them to leave and then turned to leave. Jing Lang and Fang Zicheng looked at each other with confusion in their eyes. What kind of important matter needed to be done at this time? Chapter 396. Jing Yu was vying for the position of the Ninth Emperor's official consort, but the Ninth Emperors were not present at this critical juncture. Jing Lang left with Fang Zicheng and the others. Inside the restaurant, Jing Lang, Fang Zicheng, and Shengguan Linglan sat across from each other. The three of them each had a cup of tea in front of them, but none of them drank it. None of them spoke. The atmosphere was tense, and Jing Lang finally broke the silence with a frown. Thank you both for what happened at the horse track today. As Jing Lang spoke, he bowed slightly to Shengguan Linglan and Fang Zicheng. If it weren't for Fang Zicheng and Shengguan Linglan covering for him at the horse track today, things would have gotten out of hand. Jing Yu might have been killed once again. What we want is not your gratitude. Fang Zicheng's face became serious. He pursed his lips and stared at Jing Lang. Jing Yu, what happened? You all saw it? Jing Lang's lips curled into a bitter smile. Shengguan Linglan and Fang Zicheng looked at each other. They suddenly felt that things were not as they had imagined. Their eyes were full of seriousness. They pursed their lips and stared at Jing Lang as they explained. It is as you saw. Jing Lang took a deep breath and said, Yue was born with strange eyes. She was called a jinx from birth. Grandfather wanted to kill Yue, so father and mother took Yue to escape into the Roman forest. This is the true reason why Yue was abandoned in the forest. It was because of her eyes. Born with strange eyes? Shengguan Linglan's eyes widened. Fang Zicheng's face was also full of shock. Yes, born with strange eyes. Jing Lang's face was full of disappointment. He said, only my father and I know about this. I thought we could hide it, but recently, Yue's eyes seem to be out of control. They keep appearing. If this is made public, she will become a demon that everyone wants to kill. I can't let this happen. This matter is really too serious. Fang Zicheng frowned tightly. Although he already had this idea, when he heard Jing Lang say it, it was a different idea. So, you must keep it a secret. Jing Lang looked at Fang Zicheng and Shengguan Linglan seriously. Don't worry, we know what's important. Shengguan Linglan sighed and frowned. I finally know why Jing Yu can make Zhang Hua so obedient, why she can control the Grey Wolf, and why, at Baofeng Temple, grandmother wanted to look into Jing Yu's eyes. So it was because of this. Your grandmother? Jing Lang was slightly taken aback. He looked at Shengguan Linglan with a questioning gaze. Shengguan Linglan told him everything that happened that day. Only then did Jing Lang let out a sigh of relief. He turned to the other two and said, this matter cannot be known to others. As for the 3 horse trainers, they cannot be allowed to live. They are too dangerous for Jing Yu. Yes, they must be eliminated. Fang Zicheng and Shengguan Linglan nodded in unison. The 3 of them discussed for a while and then went their separate ways. The 3 of them walked in 3 different directions. Everyone had different feelings. At this moment, Shengguan Linglan and Fang Zicheng finally knew how Jingyu survived in the forest. Her strange eyes allowed her to control beasts. Fang Zicheng's face was full of seriousness. He didn't know why, but he suddenly felt that the word beast control was very familiar, as if he had seen it somewhere before. Thinking of this, Fang Zicheng quickened his pace and walked towards the Grand Secretary's mansion. Chapter 397. Night fell. Jingyu was still unconscious. Xiao Chen carefully tucked Jingyu in and turned to leave the room. Xing Yi was standing at the door. When he saw Xiao Chen come out, he lowered his head. The two of them walked towards the other side of the room. Xiao Chen stood with his hands behind his back and asked calmly, "Did you find anything?" Xing Yi nodded in a deep voice. "How is it?" Xiao Chen asked Xing Yi with narrowed eyes. The imperial concubine's eyes can change into one gold and one green. Furthermore, she can control horses. Those horses seem to be very afraid of the imperial concubine. Xing Yi pursed his lips and spat out these words. These words made Xing Yi's heart tremble uncontrollably. Strange eyes. Xiao Chen slowly clenched his fists. His dark eyes flashed with excitement, surprise, and a complicated feeling of unwillingness. All kinds of emotions surged through him before he finally calmed down. When he looked up again, there was nothing strange in his eyes. "Did you take care of the people?" Xiao Chen asked calmly. "Yes, it was handled very cleanly. The three of them did not leak anything." Xing Yi bowed his head and replied. "These three people were naturally the 3 horse trainers." Xiao Chen replied calmly. When Jingyu regained consciousness, it was already late at night. The surroundings were pitch black, but Jingyu did not see any effect. Jingyu was shocked and slowly sat up. There was not a single candle in the pitch-black room, but Jingyu could see clearly. There. Jingyu stood up and walked in front of the mirror. In the mirror, her eyes, one gold and one green, were especially eye-catching. Jingyu narrowed her eyes slightly. The golden-green eyes slowly dissipated and turned black again. Her surroundings sank into darkness and she was no different from a normal person. Jingyu blinked her eyes playfully. Her dark eyes turned golden-green again. She could do what she wanted. Jingyu grinned. "I can control it." Jingyu quickly changed her mind many times before finally revealing a smile. "Aya, Imperial Concubine, why are you standing in front of the mirror?" As usual, Yin Xiao wanted to come in to see if Jingyu had woken up. She was holding a lamp. When she saw Jingyu standing in front of the mirror, she was so shocked that she almost knocked the lamp over. "Yin Xiao, it's you." Jingyu turned around and said with a smile, "I want to see if I'm disfigured." "Really?" Yin Xiao slowly released a breath. Looking at Jingyu, who had regained consciousness, she said, "Imperial Concubine, it's good that you're awake. You scared this servant to death. Fortunately, nothing happened." "I'm the one who was scared to death, okay?" Jingyu rolled her eyes and said, "Quickly go prepare something for me to eat. I'm about to starve to death." "Yes, this servant will go prepare it now." Yin Xiao responded happily. She lit the candles in the room and then turned to leave. It was clear that Yin Xiao had gone to inform Xiao Chen first. Jingyu had just laid down on the bed when Xiao Chen came over. Seeing Jingyu leisurely lying on the bed with her legs crossed, he slowly released a breath. "Aya, Xiao Chen, you're here?" Jingyu looked up at the approaching Xiao Chen and said, "N." Xiao Chen slowly walked to Jingyu's bedside and sat down. He raised his eyes to look at Jingyu and said, "Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere?" "No, I'm very good." Jingyu blinked and said, "Did you find out who drugged me?" Jingyu's clean and direct question stunned Xiao Chen. He then said faintly, "Mu Qinghua did something to your clothes with the intention of making you lose in horse training. But for some reason it doesn't seem to be just that." Chapter 398. What do you mean? Jingyu already knew that it was Mu Qinghua's doing, but she felt that it wasn't normal. "You were drugged with 2 kinds of drugs." Xiao Chen said faintly, "One was a knockout drug that made you weak and faint. The other was to take your life. This drug can make the horses go crazy, so the horses attacked you." "Mu Qinghua wanted to kill me?" Jing Yu's eyes widened. She didn't remember offending Mu Qinghua like this. Xiao Chen shook his head and said, the knockout drug was indeed drugged by Mu Qinghua, but the other drug wasn't. Then who was it? Jing Yu was stunned. If it wasn't Mu Qinghua, then who was it? I'm not sure. I'm still investigating. Xiao Chen frowned. Obviously, this matter made Xiao Chen very uncomfortable. Jing Yu frowned as she lay down. She thought about it, but she really didn't know who she had offended recently. It seemed like she had offended Fu Ruoqing. This woman was in the palace. Why would she drug her? I will investigate clearly. Xiao Chen said faintly, but what happened on the horse track today? Why did those horses suddenly kneel down when they were about to reach you? Kneel down? I don't know. Jing Yu's heart suddenly jumped. She opened her eyes wide and said, You don't know? Xiao Chen's expression was a little strange. I don't know. Didn't I faint? Jing Yu said as she turned her head away guiltily. Xiao Chen looked at Jing Yu, who turned her head away. His eyes flashed with a deep look. Jing Yu talked nonsense and pretended to be stupid to fool the matter. Xiao Chen didn't continue to ask. It was as if nothing had changed. The people from Nanli returned the next day. Jing Yu complained that she couldn't get even with Mu Qinghua. However, Xiao Chen said that he had already done it for her. What did you do? Jing Yu asked curiously. Nothing. I just sent him off. Xiao Chen lowered his head and looked at the documents. Jing Yu was slightly stunned. She wanted to ask Xiao Chen, but Xiao Chen didn't intend to elaborate. Jing Yu had no choice but to run over to Xing Yi. Xing Yi calmly said, Master prepared hundreds of ambushes and sent Crown Prince Mu back to Nanli. Jing Yu suddenly choked. She silently mourned for Mu Qinghua in her heart. Serves him right. After the ceremony, Jing Yu finally secured her position as the 9th imperial concubine. The winner of this bet was undoubtedly Jing Yu. Look at Mu Xiaoya. She was so angry that she left. What else could be compared? Jing Yu also took advantage of this bet to earn a large sum of money. Before leaving, Mu Qinghua lost all of his money. On the other hand, Helian Theo didn't offend either side and even earned a small sum of money. Jing Yu disliked Helian Theo's behavior. After the ceremony, the 7th month arrived as scheduled. When Jing Yu returned to the residence on the 10th, Xiao Chen was already nowhere to be seen. Jing Yu was puzzled. Why did she feel that Xiao Chen was becoming more and more mysterious? She couldn't see him every day. The night was hazy, and Jing Yu was sleeping peacefully as usual. However, just as she was about to fall asleep, she heard strange movements coming from the room. The footsteps didn't seem to want to be hidden. Jing Yu slowly opened her eyes, sat up, and lifted the curtain. A slender black figure stood not far away. Chapter 399. Jing Yu's face darkened. Little beauty, long time no see. Helian Theo was dressed in a long black robe, but the black made him look red. He looked extremely enchanting. Helian Theo, are you treating this place as your home? Jing Yu looked sleepily at Helian Theo. She yawned and looked like she was about to fall asleep. Helian Theo laughed happily. He narrowed his eyes at Jing Yu and said, Xiao Chen isn't in the palace. Do you think there is anyone in the palace who can stop me? Isn't this like my own home? How do you know that Xiao Chen isn't here? Jing Yu blinked in confusion and looked at Helian Theo. Not only do I know that he isn't here, I also know where he went. Helian Theo's smile slowly deepened. The deep meaning in his eyes made Jing Yu narrow her eyes. Don't you want to know? Helian Theo walked elegantly towards Jing Yu. Not interested. Jing Yu raised her hand and put down the curtain, looking as if she didn't want to see Helian Xiu. Helian Xiu, who was taking a step forward, paused. Looking at the curtain that was put down, he was slightly stunned. Then, the smile in his eyes deepened. He said indifferently, I'll wait for you outside the manor. After saying this, Helian Theo didn't say anything else and turned to leave. Jing Yu lay on the bed and closed her eyes, but she couldn't fall asleep no matter how hard she tried. She growled angrily and neatly got up to put on a black robe. She carefully opened the back window and flipped over the edge of the window without alerting anyone. It was quiet all around. Jingyu walked out of the prince's residence and looked around. Finally, she stepped into an alley and saw Hellion Xiao standing there as expected. "You're here." Hellion Theo stood there indifferently and looked at Jingyu. It was as if he was certain that Jingyu would come. "You're good. Let's go." Jingyu pouted and looked up at Hellion Theo. "Follow me." Hellion Theo smiled faintly and led the way into the alley. They walked out of the city. Jingyu didn't know Qinggong and could only be carried by Hellion Theo. Hellion Theo put Jingyu down when they reached a forest outside the city. Jingyu couldn't use her special pupils and could only rely on herself to see the road in front of her. In the dark night, Hellion Theo slowly held Jingyu's hand. Jingyu was stunned and looked down at the big hand holding her. It was completely different from when Xiaochen held her hand. Jingyu felt that she could trust Hellion Theo just because he held her hand. This strange thought made her frown slightly. "Don't make a sound." Hellion Theo whispered to Jingyu and pulled Jingyu forward. In the dark night, there seemed to be a ray of light in front of them. The snow-white gauze fluttered in the wind. Jingyu looked at the fluttering gauze and her heart skipped a beat. She hurriedly pulled Hellion Theo back. Hellion Theo looked at her with a puzzled expression. Jingyu slowly shook her head at Hellion Theo and pointed to the other side of the forest. She then grabbed Hellion Theo's hand and bent her body forward. When they were much closer, Hellion Theo and Jingyu slowly squatted down. They could clearly see through the weak candlelight that there was a figure soaking in a green pool. His white hair floated on the green water and the bulging black veins on his cheeks seemed to be more serious. Jingyu had undoubtedly seen this person before. Chapter 400. It wasn't even her first time seeing him. Jingyu slowly narrowed her eyes and lowered her breathing. Hellion Theo, who was beside her, also had a serious expression on his face. A pitch-black figure, like a ghost, held a bowl of steaming, blood-red liquid in his hand and handed it to the man. The man reached out and took it, then slowly brought it to his mouth and drank it in one gulp. Even though they were so far away, Jingyu could smell the faint scent of blood. It was blood. Jingyu's heart suddenly tightened. She watched as the man trembled all over. The originally steaming pool gradually cooled down, and the steam gradually dissipated. The white-haired man's white hair slowly turned black, and the blood vessels on his cheeks faded bit by bit. Jingyu held her breath and watched as the man stood up from the pool. The man in black stepped forward and draped a coat over him. The man slowly turned his face to the side. Jingyu's eyes widened in shock. Before she could make a sound, Hellion Theo, who was beside her, covered her nose and mouth. Jingyu widened her eyes in horror as she stared at Xiaochen, who was wearing a black coat under the light veil. Jingyu's brain buzzed when she saw his familiar face, cold gaze, and indifferent tone of voice. Hellion Theo practically dragged Jingyu away. Jingyu had already lost the ability to move or speak. She only regained her senses when Hellion Theo pulled her out of the circle. She looked at Hellion Theo in shock. "Are you afraid?" Hellion Theo stared deeply at the dazed Jingyu as he asked. There was a hint of mockery in his eyes. "Xiaochen, why is he like this?" Jingyu frowned. She had not expected that the monster she had been searching for so many times was Xiaochen. This was simply too strange. Hellion Theo chuckled and leaned over to look at Jingyu. He raised his hand to lift Jingyu's chin and said, "Xiaochen is a monster. Do you still want to follow him? Why don't you follow me?" "Stop fooling around." Jingyu slapped Hellion Theo's hand away and asked with a frown, "How did Xiaochen become like this? What happened to him before? Did someone poison him?" Jingyu asked a series of questions. There was only anxiety on her face. She was not afraid at all. Hellion Theo paused and looked at Jingyu with a complicated expression. He pursed his lips and asked, "Aren't you afraid?" "Afraid of what?" Jingyu was slightly stunned and looked at Hellion Theo with a puzzled expression. Hellion Theo was stunned by Jingyu's rhetorical question. He then laughed and said, "Jingyu, you are so interesting. What nonsense are you talking about? You haven't answered my question." Jingyu frowned. In the past, I brought Xiao Chen's so-called 9th imperial concubine here. After they saw Xiao Chen's true face, they either committed suicide or went crazy. However, none of them asked about Xiao Chen's past like you did. Jingyu, I suddenly feel very jealous of Xiao Chen, Helian Theo said as he looked at Jingyu with a burning gaze. Those dead 9th imperial concubine were all you're doing? Jingyu widened her eyes in shock. Some of them were. Helian Theo chuckled and didn't seem to care. Jingyu was speechless. Do you want to know about Xiao Chen's past? Helian Theo asked with a faint smile as he looked at Jingyu. Jingyu nodded and said, I want to know how Xiao Chen became like this. What happened to him before? Chapter 401. I want to know how Xiao Chen became like this. What happened before him? If I said that Xiao Chen did it willingly, would you believe me? Helian Theo raised his eyebrows. What? Willingly? Is there something wrong with Xiao Chen's head? Jingyu widened her eyes in disbelief. If you want to know, then go ask Xiao Chen yourself. Helian Theo laughed loudly. His words made Jingyu's face darken. Helian Theo brought Jingyu back to the palace, but didn't say a word about Xiao Chen. Before leaving, Helian Theo suddenly turned to Jingyu and said, If you can come find me. What? Jingyu was stunned. She didn't know what Helian Theo meant. Helian Theo glanced at Jingyu indifferently, then turned and left without saying a word. Jingyu's face was full of confusion. What? Jingyu couldn't sleep that night. Her mind was filled with the image of Xiao Chen last night. 3 days passed, and Xiao Chen, who had disappeared for so long, finally appeared in front of Jingyu. There was nothing strange about him, as if Xiao Chen had just gone out to do something insignificant. In the end, Jingyu couldn't open her mouth to ask Xiao Chen. Time quietly passed. Jingyu's business grew bigger and bigger. The shop that Jingyu controlled was originally on the verge of death, but in Jingzhan's hands, with the help of Jingyu, it almost instantly turned around. Moreover, the profits were higher and higher day by day. When this situation reached Jingzhang's ears, he was so angry that his face turned ashen. The official affairs finally came to an end. After several investigations, Jingzhang finally found out that all of this was a trap set up by Jingzhan and Jingyu. Suddenly, Jingzhang was so angry that he reported this matter to Jing Tingyi's ears. However, Jingzhang was one step too slow. Jingzhan had already reported the loss of the shop to Jing Tingyi. Now that the shop was making extraordinary profits in Jingzhan's hands, Jing Tingyi considered the family and absolutely couldn't transfer the shop back to Jingzhang's hands. In this way, Jingzhan completely confirmed the matter of the shop. First, Madame Mei lost her power in the inner court. Then Jingzhang was ostracized in the imperial court. He repeatedly made mistakes and was forcefully demoted. Now, in the struggle for the head of the family, Jingzhang even lost the shop. Such a defeat made Jingzhang disheartened. Now, the only thing Jingzhang hoped for was Jing Yan. If Jing Yan could become the legal wife of the second prince, then he still had room to maneuver. The second prince would definitely help him in the imperial court. On this side, he could let Madame Mei open up another business route. But first, Jing Yan had to become the legal wife of the second prince. On the 15th of August, the Mid-Autumn Festival arrived as promised. There was a big banquet in the imperial palace and the ministers were allowed to bring their families. The emperor issued such a decree. The meaning was very simple. Originally, the Mid-Autumn Festival was just for the ministers to enter the palace to receive their rewards. However, this year, there was a big banquet and they were allowed to bring their families. The meaning was clear. This was to select concubines for the princes. The princes had all reached the age of marriage. The second prince already had wives and concubines, but he still hadn't chosen a legal wife. The emperor was also anxious in his heart, so he made such a move. There were tens of millions of women in the capital, but those who were worthy of the emperor's sons still needed to be carefully considered. All aspects of their conduct needed to be carefully checked. With such a clear decree, the young ladies of each family and courtyard couldn't help it. Chapter 402. She hoped that she would display her elegance at the banquet and be taken as the official consort. Imperial consort, please wear it. In the courtyard of the Prime Minister Fu, Yin Xiao looked pleadingly at Jing Yu, who was lying on the bed pretending to be dead. I'm not wearing it. Jing Yu closed her eyes and acted as if she didn't know anything. Imperial consort. Jing Yu had already moved back to the Prime Minister Fu from the Wangfu. Today was the Mid-Autumn Festival and she was going to enter the palace with Jing Zhan. However, Yin Xiao brought a pink palace dress for Jing Yu to wear. How could Jing Yu wear it? She refused to get up from the bed. When Jing Lang came in, he saw this scene and looked at Yin Xiao in confusion. Eldest young master, imperial consort, isn't willing to wear the palace dress. Yin Xiao looked at Jing Lang with a face full of grievance. Jing Lang turned to look at Jing Yu. Jing Yu sat up in a flash and glared at Yin Xiao with a face full of righteous indignation. You actually want me to wear a pink palace dress? Pink? Eldest brother. I've never worn pink in my entire life. Other than underwear. Cough, cough, cough. Hearing this, Jing Lang coughed and pulled Jing Yu up with a black face. Your figure is similar to mother's. I'll get mother's clothes for you to wear. Yin Xiao, help you her dress up first. Jing Yu was slightly taken aback as she watched Jing Lang leave just like that. Yin Xiao followed his instructions and helped Jing Yu dress up. When Jing Lang came over again, he brought Jing Zhan with him. Jing Zhan was holding a set of palace dress in his hands. Jing Yu was slightly taken aback when she saw this, and a complicated look flashed through her eyes. This is the dress your mother wore when she was young. Her figure is similar to yours. Try it on. Jing Zhan looked at Jing Yu expectantly. He looked at the clothes in his hands longingly. Jing Yu nodded. Ayun. Jing Zhan's eyes turned blurry. In his days, he seemed to have seen his beloved wife. He was so shocked. Father. Jing Lang held Jing Zhan's shoulder. Jing Zhan quickly raised his hand to wipe away the tears at the corners of his eyes. He smiled and said, is dressed very well. She looks very much like your mother. Jing Yu pursed her lips slightly. She was still not used to it. However, there was no time. Under everyone's urging, Jing Yu finally followed Jing Zhan and Jing Lang to the palace. On the way to the palace, they met many people who were sitting in horse carriages heading to the palace. At the palace's main entrance, Jing Yu saw Shangguan Linglan and Fang Zicheng, whom she had not seen for a long time. Jing Yu. Shangguan Linglan also saw Jing Yu and quickly ran over happily. Lanlan, I finally see you. Jing Yu looked at Shangguan Linglan in surprise and said, Where have you been for so many days? I went to grandmother's place. Shangguan Linglan smiled at Jing Yu and said, You brought back a good fellow. What? Jing Yu was stunned when she heard this. Shangguan Linglan said mysteriously, I'll give it to you when the banquet is over. Let's go in first. As he said this, Shangguan Linglan pulled Jing Yu towards the palace's main entrance. Jing Zhan and Shangguan Hongwen walked in front, talking and laughing. This banquet was more like a family banquet. The madams and misses were all gathered in the hall. The men sat in the front row, and the civil officials and generals were on the side. Chapter 403. The men sat in the front row while the civil and military officials sat to the side. Jing Yu and Shangguan Linglan sat across from each other. The two of them looked at each other with smiles in their eyes. Not long after, everyone entered the hall. The 9th emperors and the other princes also arrived. When almost everyone had arrived, the emperor arrived with a group of concubines. Jing Yu was already very familiar with the empress and Fu Ruoqing, but when the emperor arrived this time, there was another person standing next to him that made Jing Yu's eyes widen in shock. She was dressed like an imperial concubine. She had an exquisite face and a dignified aura. She walked behind Xiao Yi with a faint smile on her face. Her indifferent eyes turned and met Jing Yu's gaze. Her pitch-black eyes were calm as she turned back to look at Jing Yu. Ning Xiangyuan? Jing Yu's eyes were filled with shock. She raised her head and looked at Shangguan Linglan with shock in her eyes. This Ning Xiangyuan had only entered the palace for half a year? She had already been promoted to the position of concubine? Moreover, The emperor actually brought Ning Xiangyuan to such an important family banquet. It was clear that he doted on Ning Xiangyuan. Jing Yu's gaze fell on Fu Ruoqing's face. Fu Ruoqing didn't show any dissatisfaction and even seemed very happy. On the other hand, Empress Fei Yazhu's expression was a bit ugly. Jing Yu's mind turned and she immediately understood. Ning Xiangyuan must have reached some kind of agreement with Fu Ruoqing for her to be so favored in just half a year. Could it be that Fu Ruoqing didn't plan on fighting herself and let Ning Xiangyuan fight for her? Jing Yu tightly knitted her brows. She listened to the emperor say some polite words and then began to eat. All the talented women came forward to perform, singing and dancing to win praise. Jing Yu frowned and sat in place. It was clear that she didn't have any intention of moving. Your Majesty, this concubine heard that the Prime Minister's eldest granddaughter is famous for training horses. It is said that she made the fierce horse kneel? I wonder if this is true? The clear and melodious voice was pleasant to the ears, and the tone of the question made it seem as though she really didn't know. Everyone's hands that were holding their wine glasses paused, and they all looked up to see Ning Xiangyuan serving beside Xiao Yi, smiling sweetly as she poured wine for Xiao Yi and asked, "Oh." Xiao Chen clearly enjoyed Ning Xiangyuan's ignorance. He replied faintly, "You weren't there when the horses were being trained that day, so naturally you wouldn't know. However, I saw it with my own eyes. I originally thought that it was Jing Yu who could make the horses kneel, but I didn't expect it to be the work of those horse trainers. It's not worth mentioning," Xiao Yi said as he waved his hand. He originally wanted to ask the horse trainers what had happened, but he didn't expect that one of the horse trainers would be kicked to death by a horse in the stable, another would fall into the water and drown, and the last one would blindly call out something about a monster, but a monster would crash his head and die. It was simply inconceivable. Is that so? Ning Xiangyuan blinked and said with a smile, "I won't hide it from your Majesty, this concubine and Jing Yu were once best friends. Everyone knows that Jing Yu can tame fierce wolves. This concubine even saw Jing Yu make poisonous snakes listen to her. It was really interesting." She can make poisonous snakes listen to her? Xiao Ye's eyes lit up as expected. When the people below heard this, they began to whisper to each other. In a split second, everyone's gaze gathered on Jing Yu. Shangguan Linglan and Fang Zicheng both looked at each other, their eyes filled with anxiety. "Where is Jing Yu?" Xiao Yi called out loudly. Jing Yu propped herself up and slowly walked to the banquet. She knelt down and shouted, "Long live the Empress!" "Jing Yu, I heard that other than being able to tame fierce wolves, you can also make poisonous snakes listen to you?" Chapter 404. Xiao Yi looked at Jing Yu with interest as he spoke. Replying to the emperor, "This subject's daughter cannot." Jing Yu faintly replied with her head down. "Cannot." Xiao Yi tilted his head to look at Ning Xiangyuan. Ning Xiangyuan slowly retracted her hand and sat up straight as she looked at Jing Yu and said, "Jing Yu, you and I once studied etiquette in the academy. That time in the bathroom, if it wasn't for you catching the poisonous snake, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to sit here peacefully. Thinking about it now, the memory is still fresh in my mind." Concubine Xiang Yangyang must have misunderstood. This subject's daughter grew up in the mountains and knows how to catch snakes. If the poisonous snake had listened to me, this subject's daughter would have been attacked in the next second. Jing Yu faintly replied with her head down. "Haha, daring to catch snakes at such a young age, not bad, not bad." Xiao Yi laughed loudly as he nodded and said, "The 9th emperors have found a good imperial concubine. Emperor must be joking." Before Jing Yu could speak, Xiao Chen faintly nodded in response. He waved his hand at Jing Yu, indicating for Jing Yu to sit next to him. This action was seen by everyone and their eyes were filled with envy. On the high seat, Ning Xiangyuan's eyes flashed with a trace of anger, but she hid it very well. Her smiling eyes acted as if nothing had happened. She raised her hand to pour wine for Xiao Yi and said with a teasing tone, "This Jing Yu is truly amazing. It is said that in the competition with Princess Xiaoye, the painting she drew and the chess game she played were all sought after by the scholars of the imperial city. It is very extraordinary." Jin has heard of this. Xiao Yi nodded with interest and said, "Jing Yu, Did you draw old Sir Su's portrait? Even the current emperor had to call Su He old Sir. It could be seen how great Su He's reputation was. This subject's daughter only casually drew and caused emperor and concubine Xiang to laugh. Jing Yu sat beside Xiao Qin. Finally, she didn't have to kneel. It was better to sit beside Xiao Qin. Pa, your casual drawing caused all the students to trample over old Master Su's doorstep. I heard that old Master Su had no choice but to frame the drawing and hang it on his doorstep. Countless students held charcoal pens and tried to copy the drawing at old Master Su's doorstep, but none of them were able to draw your drawing. It's really a miraculous scene, Xiao Yi said with a sigh. When Xiao Ye's words fell, even Jing Yu was stunned. It turned out that her casual drawing could have such a name. Your Majesty, forget about Miss Jing Yu's painting. Even her chess game is something that no one in the imperial city has been able to solve. Fang Zicheng's father, Grand Secretary Fang, said bitterly as he cupped his hands toward Xiao Yi. There is such a thing? Xiao Yi raised his eyebrows and said, even you, the Grand Secretary, cannot break it? Your Majesty, don't make fun of this old subject. Even old Master Su lost by half a move. How can this old subject break it? When Grand Secretary Fang's words fell, everyone's eyes revealed a strange expression. They looked at Jing Yu with eyes full of admiration. You can rival Su He in terms of intelligence, and you can tame a vicious wolf in terms of martial arts. Jing Yu, if you were a man, Zhen would definitely bestow upon you an official position. Xiao Yi laughed loudly. These words seemed to be a great favor to Jing Yu, but in reality, wasn't it also a warning and relief? Recently, Jing Yu's limelight had been too great. If Jing Yu was just Jing Yu, Xiao Yi wouldn't have the slightest interest in her. However, Jing Yu was not just Jing Yu. She was the eldest legitimate grandson of the Prime Minister and the fiancé of the 9th Empress. Chapter 405. But Jing Yu wasn't just Jing Yu. She was the eldest grandson of the Prime Minister and the fiancé of the 9th Empress. Xiao Ye's words were a warning to Xiao Qin and Jing Zhan. But after he said those words, he was secretly rejoicing that Jing Yu was a woman. In the end, she was just a woman and couldn't cause too much trouble. If Jing Yu was a man, and had a close relationship with the 9th imperial uncle of the Prime Minister's residence, then perhaps in the next moment, Xiao Yi would mercilessly give the order to kill Jing Yu. Taking advantage of the fact that Jing Yu had just matured, he would strangle her in the cradle. This was the emperor. Jing Yu wasn't a fool. She understood what Xiao Yi meant and what he was thinking. Xiao Qin and Jing Zhan also understood. Their eyes flashed with a deep light. However, what they were worried about was different from what Xiao Yi was thinking. What they were worried about was Jing Yu herself. That pair of strange eyes would be exposed sooner or later. What would happen if it was really exposed? Ning Xiangyuan's original intention was to give Jing Yu a blow for losing the painting competition. But she didn't expect that after she brought up this matter, it would lead to another situation. She was in the harem and could only rely on the information she received. Jing Yu lost one round and won the other, but she didn't know the details of the competition. Ning Xiangyuan didn't expect that although Jing Yu lost in painting, she had won in a disguised way. Ning Xiangyuan almost ground her teeth to pieces when she saw this situation. She thought that she must beat that damned girl when she went back. The news she heard was not comprehensive, causing her to add more popularity to Jing Yu. But on the surface of the banquet, Ning Xiangyuan was dignified and served Xiao Yi with all her heart. On the other side, Fei Yaju was like an outsider and not the mistress of the country. Fu Ruoqing calmly sipped the sake in her cup. Seeing Xiao Ye's affection for Ning Xiangyuan, her eyes revealed a smile. She had made the right bet this time. This Ning Xiangyuan had some tricks up her sleeve. It wouldn't be long before she regained the position of Grey Fei. As for this Ning Xiangyuan, if she was useful, she would keep her by her side. If not, Fu Ruoqing's eyes flashed with indifferent killing intent. In this harem, there were too many people who suddenly died. When the banquet reached its climax, the main topic of the day was finally brought up. After a long-winded discussion about the concubines of the princes, the third prince Xiao Xiangqing and the fifth prince Xiao Zhiyu both chose their first concubines. However, The crown prince kept coughing and said that it was not suitable for him to choose a concubine for the time being. The second prince, Xiao Jingran, refused again and again, saying that he would definitely choose a concubine before the end of the year. Xiao Yi was so angry that his face turned green, but he had no choice but to agree. Originally, everyone thought that the second prince's first concubine would definitely be Jing Yan. It must be known that Jing Yan had followed the second prince to the state banquet. However, the second prince didn't bring Jing Yan with him today. Could it be that there were some unforeseen circumstances? After the banquet ended, Fei Yaju asked Jing Yu to stay. She said that she was good friends with Jing Yu's mother. She didn't expect to see Jing Yu again and was very happy. Therefore, she asked Jing Yu to stay in the palace to chat with her. She would definitely send Jing Yu back at night. Since the empress had personally asked them to stay, Xiao Chen and Jing Yu naturally wouldn't refuse and could only respectfully agree. The banquet ended and everyone left. Jing Yu was intimately held by Fei Yaju's hand and led to the empress' main hall in the harem. Fei Yaju dismissed everyone and then let go of Jing Yu's hand. Chapter 406. Jing Yu was intimately held by Fei Yaju as they walked into the empress' main hall. Fei Yaju dismissed everyone before letting go of Jing Yu's hand. Empress. Jing Yu slightly bent her knees in front of Fei Yaju. Towards this empress, Jing Yu didn't know how to treat her. She seemed like a friend, not an enemy, but they weren't that close. This consort recognizes your clothes. Fei Yaju indifferently looked at Jing Yu's clothes with a dazed look in her eyes. She lightly said, "At that time, this consort had just sat on the empress throne and was at the height of my favor. Your mother wore this set of clothes and talked to me." Fei Yaju walked to the head of the table and narrowed her eyes as she looked at Jing Yu. "You are not like your mother at all. She is gentle and virtuous. She interacts with others with kindness, but she lacks the aura she should have. You are different. This consort likes you very much. Many thanks for the empress love." Jing Yu lowered her eyes. This was the first time she had heard someone describe her mother. As Fei Yaju spoke, Jing Yu seemed to see a gentle and moving woman appear in her mind. She quietly looked at her with a gentle gaze. "Today, this consort asked you to stay because I have something to tell you." Fei Yaju didn't waste words and directly said, "As you can see, it is difficult to tolerate this consort's position in the inner palace. First, Fu Ruoqing was pressuring me. Now, there are new concubines fighting for the position. This consort's position as empress." Fei Yaju slowly stopped and turned to look at Jing Yu. "Right now, this consort is isolated and helpless. My only thought is on you. Jing Yu, are you willing to help this consort?" Empress must be joking. Firstly, this consort is not in the palace. Secondly, this consort has no status. How can I help Empress? Jing Yu lightly said with her head lowered. "You can." Fei Yaju stared at Jing Yu and said, "Jing Yu, I just said that your mother and I are very close. In fact, we are even closer than you think." Jing Yu raised her head and looked at Fei Yaju in confusion. Fei Yaju smiled faintly at Jing Yu and said, "Jing Yu, I know that you are different from ordinary people. You must be aware of this difference." Jing Yu was shocked and looked at Fei Yaju with fear. "Your mother seemed to have sensed something, so she left something with me." Fei Yaju stood up and walked down the stairs towards the inner hall. She turned slightly to Jing Yu and said, "Follow me." Jing Yu followed Fei Yaju into the inner hall with a stomach full of confusion and shock. She watched as Fei Yaju moved the book away and took out a small box from a hidden compartment. She walked towards Jing Yu with the box and said lightly, "Qi Yun said that if she could see her daughter, she would give this to you. What is inside?" Jing Yu frowned in confusion. "A bead." Fei Yaju said lightly, "I don't know what it is either. From what I see, it is just a very ordinary bead." Jing Yu opened the box with a heart full of confusion. There was indeed a bead inside. It was a very ordinary white bead. There was nothing special about it. Jing Yu raised her hand to take the small bead. Her eyes were full of confusion. She didn't know what was so special about the bead. She raised her head to look at the Empress. Chapter 407. She said she wants you to wear it. Fei Yaju said as she took a red string and tied it around Jing Yu's neck. Jing Yu looked at the pearl around her neck and her eyes moved slightly. There was clearly nothing strange about it, but something seemed to be different. My mother, did she say anything? A complicated look flashed through Jing Yu's eyes. She raised her hand to touch the smooth pearl and pursed her lips slightly as she asked Fei Yaju. She only told you to wear it and not take it off. Fei Yaju looked at Jing Yu and said, when news of Qi Yun's death came, I thought you had died as well. But after so many years, there was no news of your death, nor was there any news of your survival. To be honest, I didn't have much hope. But your father is a good father. Thank you. Jing Yu took a deep breath and bowed slightly towards Fei Yaju. Jing Yu's thanks was very sincere. You don't have to thank me. Fei Yaju smiled faintly and said, I've always found you pleasing to the eye. Otherwise, why do you think I would speak up for you when I first saw you? Tell me, what do you want me to do? At this point, Jing Yu did not change the topic. She looked straight at Fei Yaju and said, help me secure my position as Empress. Fei Yaju's lips curled slightly as she spoke. Jing Yu raised her eyes and looked at Fei Yaju. Their gazes met in midair. Finally, Jing Yu lowered her eyes and said, I understand. It's good that you understand. Fei Yaju's smile deepened as she looked at Jing Yu with sparkling eyes. On the way out of the palace, Jing Yu frowned as she sat in the carriage. She thought about the Empress' words and felt that it was inconceivable. Her mother actually knew about her abnormality? And she even left behind this pearl. Jing Yu raised her hand to touch the pearl and her heart was filled with strangeness. When they left the palace, the sky was already dark. Jing Yu sighed and changed into the carriage to return to the Prime Minister's residence. But just as Jing Yu lifted the curtains with a heart full of suspicion, she suddenly saw a person dressed in black sitting quietly in the carriage. Jing Yu didn't even see that person's face before her mouth and nose was covered and dragged into the carriage. A strong sense of dizziness came over her. Jing Yu had been living in peace for too long and Jing Yu had already forgotten about this basic sense of danger. That was the last thought she had before she lost consciousness. Wake her up. An indifferent voice sounded by her ear. Before Jing Yu could react, she felt a basin of ice-cold water splash on her face. Jing Yu trembled and opened her eyes. The scene in front of her was reflected in Jing Yu's eyes. This was a very shabby room, like a woodshed. Her hands and feet were tied and she was lying on the ground in a sorry state. Who are you? Jing Yu tried to move her body with difficulty but found that her bones seemed to have turned soft and didn't listen to her commands. Kakik, you're Jing Yu? One of them had a petite figure and her face was covered, only revealing a pair of sparkling eyes. She stared at Jing Yu and sized her up. She didn't hide her voice when she spoke, so it was obvious that this person was a woman. Behind this woman stood a bodyguard who was almost hidden in the darkness. Even if she couldn't see his eyes, Jing Yu could feel the thick aura of death coming from his body. It was the aura of someone who had killed too many people. Even his murderous aura had weakened, leaving only the aura of death. Chapter 408. The men's faces were filled with terror, as if they didn't know where they were. Serve this young lady well. This young lady will treat your family well. The woman waved her hand to indicate for the men to take off their blindfolds. She then left these words behind and turned to leave. She glanced sideways at Jing Yu, who was struggling on the ground, and a faint smile appeared in her eyes. I can't wait for the 9th Emperors to see this scene. The woman didn't stay any longer and turned to leave. Jing Yu stared helplessly as the door closed behind her. Her heart was filled with helplessness. Waves of heat flowed through her body, and Jing Yu's vision blurred. Her cheeks flushed red. Jing Yu originally thought that the woman had only drugged her, but she didn't expect that just as Jing Yu was trying her best to suppress the strange feeling in her body, the 3 men sitting on the other side also flushed red. Jing Yu's heart instantly quivered. She cursed loudly. This damned woman actually drugged the 3 men as well. Jing Yu hadn't returned the entire night. Jing Lang thought that Jing Yu had gone to the prince's residence. Today, He remembered that his father had something to discuss with Jingyu about the shop, so he came to the prince's residence early in the morning to look for her. However, he didn't expect to be told that Jingyu hadn't returned to the prince's residence. Instantly, Xiao Chen and Jing Lang panicked. He hurriedly sent people to the palace to inquire, but the news came that Jingyu had left the palace at night. At this time, Xiao Chen and Jing Lang probably knew that something had happened to Jingyu. He immediately sent people to search for her. However, he didn't expect that just as Xiao Chen and Jing Lang started to move, an undercurrent would appear in the palace and leak the news of Jingyu's disappearance. The 9th emperor's fiancée, Jingyu, hadn't returned the entire night. She hadn't returned the entire night. Once this news came out, there were people who whispered to each other. If she hadn't returned the entire night, then where had she gone? Could she have been kidnapped? She had been kidnapped the entire night. If she had returned, who knew if she would still be a virgin? As soon as such remarks spread, the imperial city was in an uproar. When Xiao Chen heard the news, he was so angry that he slammed the table under his palm and broke it. The coldness and brutality in his eyes almost burst out of his body. Below him, interrogation officers 1 and 2 knelt on the ground, not daring to say a word. Go investigate. Who did it? The blood in Xiao Chen's chest was boiling. This matter definitely wasn't groundless. He and Xiao Chen had just received the news of Jingyu's disappearance, and the streets over there had exploded. Xiao Chen wouldn't believe that no one had stirred up this matter. While Xiao Chen's men were wantonly searching for her, Jingyu couldn't take it anymore. If even Jingyu couldn't take it anymore, then those burly men definitely couldn't take it anymore. One of them had already ripped off his clothes and walked towards Jingyu with fire in his eyes. Get lost. Jingyu's words would have had some deterrence if she had said it normally. However, at this moment, Jingyu's coquettish voice didn't have any deterrence. Instead, it was full of temptation, as if she was acting coquettishly. That burly man couldn't take it anymore. With a low growl, he pounced on Jingyu. Jingyu's hands and feet were tied up, so she couldn't resist at all. That man reached out to take off Jingyu's clothes, but his hands were blocked by the ropes. Immediately, that man became anxious and almost pulled Jingyu's hands free. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.